All righty. If we could take our seats, please. Excuse me. If we could take our seats, please. We're going to start the meeting. All right. This is December 3rd, the year is 2024. We are the Carmel-by-the-Sea City Council. Nova, could I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Barron?
Here.
Councilmember Drama?
Here.
Councilmember Ferlito?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Richards?
Here.
Mayor Potter?
Here.
All are present.
Okay, would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Please begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, first under extraordinary business, Carmel High School report out. Do we have a member of the school present? Yes, do come forward. Congratulations on the football victory.
Thank you. Hello, I am Juliet Norman, and I am the Carmel High School ASB president. First of all, we'd like to thank Mayor Potter for his work as mayor and wish him well in his future endeavors. Okay. We have some very exciting recent accomplishments at Carmel High School. Our mock trial team just won 3rd place in an international mock trial tournament in Chicago. And our football team has advanced to the NorCal Regional Football Championship for the first time in 15 years. We will be playing Acalanes High School from Lafayette, California this Friday night, and the game will be at MPC at 7:30, and we hope the community can come out to support our team in this big game. We would love for the community to also attend all our sporting events as winter sports are underway. The basketball, soccer, wrestling, and cheerleading seasons have started. You can find their schedules on our website under athletics. There are also a lot of opportunities for people in the community to support music at our school this time of year by attending winter concerts. The Singer-Songwriter Guild has a performance this Friday from 6 to 7:30. The high school music department also has its winter concert on December 13th at 7 o'clock. The students have also been working to support the community during this season. The CASA gift drive that we ran the week before Thanksgiving was very successful, as we were able to donate over 400 gifts for local children in need. We were also able to give $464 to the Monterey County Food Bank through our Friendsgiving sale of pies the Friday before Thanksgiving. The Marine Biology Club at the high school is now collecting used wetsuits in all sizes and surfboards to help provide kids from around Monterey County with the gear they need to enjoy activities on our beautiful coast. Next week is Week of Winter at Carmel High School, where students dress up and participate in fun activities before finals week, which is the week after. The high school has also just initiated a student senate, which hopes to find additional ways to work with city council and the local leaders to find more opportunities to enrich our community. We are looking forward to strengthening our collaboration and partnership in the new year. To get more information about all that is going on at Carmel High School, you can find the daily bulletin on our website, carmelunified.org, under Student Life, and follow our ASB on Instagram at PadreBobCHS. Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. A lot going on in Carmel High, that's for sure. Thank you. Okay, the next thing we got is recognition of the departing members of the council. Chip.
Thanks so much for your service. That's it. This is the opportunity. Councilmember Richards has served for 9 years. Councilmember Mayor Potter since 2018, and Councilmember Ferlito since you kind of threw me with this. I didn't know I was going to speak, but I'll do my best. Since 2020. And, on behalf of the staff, I just wanted to really thank each of you for being so supportive and approachable and kind, and only wire brushing me once or twice a week. I personally really appreciate that. Public service is, for many people, a calling. and I think everyone who is elected to local office. And for everyone's benefit, these are highly paid officials. I think you get paid, what is it, $100 a month?
$187 and a free flu shot.
I always throw in the flu shot. Yeah, the flu shot is a benefit, a huge benefit. But public service is a calling for many. Councilmember Ferlito served for many years on our Forest and Beach Commission, I think for 16 or 18 years. Mayor Pro Tem Richards served on Community Activities Commission when it was previously called the Community Activities and Cultural Commission for many years. And Mayor Potter, of course, has served local government for over 35 years. Which is 2/3 of his life, and so it's really, on behalf of the staff and the community, thank you so much for your service. We're very grateful. We'll miss you. We're certainly going to welcome the new council members next Monday. You're all welcome back here to fill the chamber again on Monday the 9th at 4:30. But today's really about celebrating the outgoing council members and thanking them for their ongoing service and dedication. So thank you.
Thank you for clarifying. Karen.
I'm going to miss this a lot because I enjoyed it very, very much, and I was happy to serve our community. But tonight I wanted to say thank you to all the members of the staff that have helped me through these 4 years and have helped our community. They work pretty tirelessly to keep this community running as smoothly as possible. And it's a very interesting challenge because they have a lot of, let's say, exceptional full-time residents to serve. Plus, we have millions of visitors that visit over the year's time. And those visitors have expectations as well. And I think our staff does a really good job. Especially during stormy times, they work really long hours so that we can sit in our homes in the comfort of the warmth by the fireplace while they're out in the middle of storms in the rain and the wind. So if you see our staff out there working in the field, patching streets, doing things, notice them and say hello to them and thank them, because I think they're the glue that keeps this town together. And I'm not going to be at the employee luncheon later this month because we are going to New York to visit our children for Christmas. So I just wanted to say a special thanks tonight to all of our staff because they've made my 4 years a lot easier. So thank you.
And very well said, Karen. Nicely done. Bobby?
Yeah, thank you, Karen. That was perfect and saved me from saying all that. But, I just remember Jason Burnett's last night here when he was getting off council, and he said being on city council was like the old saying, buying a boat, or the two happiest days of a boat owner once you buy it and then when you sell it. Well, I don't agree with that, actually, because it's been a pleasure to serve this community. It was an honor to be elected, and I will miss it very much. I'm excited about the next chapter of my life, and I know that some of you probably wondered why I didn't run for re-election, and it was because I had a little bit of a health scare, but I just had my second cancer test, and I was 0, so I'm really excited about that. And I'm really happy to continue to stay part of this community, and I appreciate all of you. I appreciate people coming to these meetings, month after month. And I will miss it. And again, as Karen said, staff is so key and so important, and I appreciate them very much. Dave, thank you for your mentorship. Chip, thank you. And to all the council members that I've served with, it's been a pleasure over the past 9 years, and I look forward to seeing you around. Thank you.
Well said, Bobby. I will just say that it's been an honor to be the mayor of this community. I've served this community in a variety of capacities. I've served at every level of government there is. I've served at the local level, city council in Monterey. I've served at the state level as representative of the California Coastal Commission. I've served the county when I was on the California Coastal Commission, when I was a member of the Board of Supervisors. I've also served at the federal level when I represented USAID for 2 years with the nation of Croatia and the city of Monterey and the city of Dubrovnik. So I can tell you that the greatest honor I've had is being the mayor of this community. It's a challenge. Local government is where everything takes place. Everybody knows what a mayor does. Nobody knows what a county supervisor does. But I tell you what, it's been a real honor. It's been a real pleasure. I take it very seriously. There's an old saying, though, that behind every man there's a successful woman. In this case, there's actually a woman on my side that I'm very proud of. She's standing right back there in the corner, Janine. It means a lot when you've had a tough day and somebody comes out and says something rude to you, and your wife's all upset about it, and you don't really care. It's really, Janine, you've been great. Thanks you so much. So with that, I just want to say thank you all for your loyalty. Thank you all for your service. Thank you to Dale for kind of stepping forward. It's going to be a challenge, but I think we're going to have a good time, Dale. Really looking forward to it. So thank you all. Is there anybody in the public that'd like to speak? Should I open it up for the public? Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff.
Yeah,
sorry.
I have some remarks. So thank you, everybody, for coming. I have some remarks for each of you. You know, a lot of you don't know, and I maybe I shouldn't say this, but Dave, while he actually built my house, when we had our process in 2008 and 2009, and through the design review board, when we started building our house in 2009, I looked around for a contractor to do the excavation and the framing, and I liked Dave. Well, actually, I liked the boys that work for Dave. So I hired Dave's boys to dig my house and frame my house, and they did an excellent job. But a funny story from that is during the last couple of months of the construction, we had rented a house across the street, and I had left with the dog one morning at about 7 o'clock, and right as I was leaving the house across the street, and Janine knows the story I'm telling, right as I was leaving the house across the street, I saw someone walk into the construction site. And we'd had some issues with some of the neighbors, and so at 7 o'clock in the morning, I called the police. And I sat there in front of this Snow's house, and 5 minutes later, the police car arrives, and I say, there's someone over there at my house, at my construction site, and we all go over there, and it's Dave.
And Janine.
Dave and Janine. And so I actually have called the police on the mayor before. So thank you, Dave, for your years of public service, and especially for your past 6 years. Bobby, I knew you, when I started here, I knew you were a council member, and I was a nobody, and you helped me, you helped me through the election, and I know that, over the course of these 6 years, we have had probably more policy differences than anybody on the council. And I don't have enough fingers and toes to count all the policy differences that we've had. But the one thing I've known, while I've been sitting up here with you, mostly looking across the dais at you as I remember back, is that you have always voted your conscience for what you think is the best for the city and the residents. And I'm happy to have been up here with you and to call you a friend after all this time. And then Karen, I've known Karen since our days on the Forest and Beach Commission. It's been 10 years, and Karen and I literally ran through fire when we were starting, and actually it was beach fires, because I joined the Forest and Beach Commission right when the whole beach fire thing was raging. And Karen and I were on opposite sides, and Karen's side prevailed and mine didn't, and that's okay. And somehow our friendship survived those first fraught years, and then Karen supported me when I ran 6 years ago, and I supported Karen when she ran 4 years ago, and then Karen supported me again. And even though we have also had our differences on the council, once again, we are still friends. And I would say we are good friends, and I've appreciated having you up here with me, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Well said, Jeff. Very nice. Thank you.
I just have a few comments, a little bit of repetition, but that's okay. So I just wanted to thank the 3 outgoing members for their service on the council, and Bobby previously for your work on community activities, and Karen for your work on Forest and Beach, and Mayor for your 3 terms on here at 2018 to 2024, and just wanted to specifically take a moment to recognize you for your nearly 4 decades of public service on the Monterey Peninsula and for the county. And just to recap, that you began your public service in 1986 in the city of Monterey with the Architectural Review Committee, the Planning Commission, and the Monterey City Council. And then you were elected to the Monterey County Board of Supervisors for District 5 from 1996 through 2016. And then you served on the California Coastal Coastal Commission from 1997 to 2009, and you were the longest serving member. And it was very important that you helped get Carmel's local coastal plan certified. And also, after many years of involvement, you were took part in the Transportation Agency of Monterey County and the League of California Cities. So we thank you for your many, many years of public service here on the entire Monterey Peninsula. And thank you all.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Right, is there anybody in the public wishing to speak tonight, briefly?
Gary Richard Arnold, I think under your long-term and short-terms here, you fundamentally change the government to no longer being representative. You have joined a COG, a Council of Governments, which is no more than a Soviet. In fact, Karen is the one that attends that COG. She has not. The clerk can't find one report to you giving information back to your representatives, nor does that high school girl have any idea about CalCog or AMBAG or the California League of Cities, or the fact that the city administrator, the city manager, belongs to the International City Managers Association. He doesn't have to be a citizen. He doesn't have to swear to the Constitution. And why doesn't he say what he's being paid? And the same goes with some of these attorneys and so forth. They belong to a network. And this is under the Leon Panetta machine. Everybody's heard about Dianne Feinstein's so-called driver. He was a communist signing her petition. Look at Bobby grin. He loves it. Anyway, this is Bruce McPherson, who's been head of California Forward many times. This is Katrina Lum, triple red Chinese communist spy. Okay, Bobby, you're having fun here. This is what your manager belongs to. You have given up the sanctity and the sovereignty of your city. Why don't you tell them, Karen, you're supposed to be responsible for telling the city council and the people. And your local city, your local elementary school, your high school, and your college, they don't know anything about your phoniness. They're pushing a separate government called Pacifica. And that was leaked by Bruce McPherson, who received that money. Front page, U.S. News and World Report. Your local paper isn't going to print a dime's worth of knowledge about that. We also have Leon Panetta. Look up Panetta-gate if you don't do anything else. Leon Panetta gave military and policy information to a red Chinese communist who belonged to Perlo, Silvermaster, Swords, the most successful spy ring in history. And for your smiling there, Mr. Bobby Richards, this is the supervisor of Santa Cruz, his two former employers, Zach Friend, which is right along here with Leon Panetta.
Gary, your time is up.
His two former employers were lobbyists for the rich.
Appreciate your testimony. Thank you.
Please, people, wake up, and unless they report to you what they're doing behind the scenes,
next speaker, please.
Being snowed and cheated out of.
Thank you, Gary.
Representative government. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next speaker.
Is this still working after all that?
Yes, it is. Beat up a little bit, but it's still working.
Good afternoon. My name is Ellie. And for some of you, including Mayor Potter and Councilman Richards, today is your last day in office. And it's also our day, the public's last day, to publicly recognize your choices, which will live on in infamy. In the middle of June 2020, you, Mayor Potter, and the city manager, Chip Rarig, in a vlog, that's a video blog online, invited people from around the country to visit our beach. Chip Rarig said, quote, "We are not going to lose the beach for the 4th of July because the great outdoors are always open. So please come." Not that you ever had the authority to close it in the first place, but nonetheless, just a few weeks later, on the morning the weekend that the country celebrates its liberation from tyranny, you, Chip Rarig, quote, on the sage advice from Chief Paul Tomasi, decided, crowned yourself emperor. You got up on the morning of July 3rd and made the unilateral decision as an unelected politician to use your standing army to terrify the tourists that had flown here from around the country and purchased hotel rooms to be able to stay and enjoy our beach, to see it had been roped off like a crime scene. One tourist did come from another place in California who wanted to engage in the criminality of walking his dog in the ocean. Woo! Officers Johnson and Boucher stalked him the length of the People's Beach while the man repeatedly said, "I'm not committing any crime." Officer Greg Johnson of your police department said, "Wait until he gets over there and then go get him. We're going to put him in and he's going straight to jail for walking his dog." Carmel loves dogs, right? His head was submerged underwater. He lost his iPhone in the surf. All the people that were scared to walk past the police tape on that evening watched in fear, and one woman said, "Oh my God, they just took that guy down." In this photo is Officer Joseph Boucher, Jacob Clifford, and Michael Bruno attacked the man from behind for walking his dog in the ocean in Carmel, California. The man was taken to jail in handcuffs, soaking wet, with no shoes, and had to hire an attorney to unwind him from the false criminal charges. You, Chip Rarig, Chief Tomasi, Jeff Barron, Bobby Richards, and Dave Potter approved of in your next city council meeting.
Ma'am, your time is up. Next speaker. Thank you.
I'm Liz. He was released in the middle of the night. All of you in your police department didn't care when and if he got home safely. And this was all done because you claimed that we, the people, were going to violate the dreaded 6-foot distancing rule and kill one another and ourselves, despite the fact that, as one local TV station said, although the beach was noticeably empty, the town was still swimming with visitors. So you had no problems whatsoever with people spending money in the shops to bring in revenue, but playing water sports or standing on the sand was a crime that deserved a jail cell. And as you can see from the second photo, your beach disclosure never had anything to do with keeping us safe from ourselves. It had to do with happens when the power of officials, including Chief of Police Paul Tomasi, goes unchecked, because maybe we, the people, were also to blame for sleeping at the wheel. Rather than condemning this unprovoked attack on a peaceful tourist after being invited here by the mayor and Chip Rarig, in the next council meeting on July 7th, 2020, Mayor Dave Potter, I quote, thanked the community members for their support of the beach closure, end quote. Council member Jeff Barron was quoted as saying that he thanked the police department for keeping the beach clear and thanking those who are not normally involved with that type of thing in their efforts with supporting the beach closure. Chip Rarig, an unelected politician who still, for reasons unknown, continues to sit on the board of Visit Carmel when he was responsible for what happened to this man when he visited Carmel. Quote, thanked Carmel residents for their support in his decision to close the beach over the 4th of July holiday weekend, and thanked the police department and Monterey Fire for their assistance in educating people if they arrived at the beach, end quote. Is this what you mean by educating us if we arrived at the beach during that weekend? Bobby Richards said in an interview that they had closed Carmel Beach because you were all afraid of a compression factor. Is this the compression factor, Council Member Richards, that you claimed you were all afraid of? So the question is, was this inflicted on us to keep us safe, or did it really always have to do with being intoxicated by your own ability to dominate your bosses with violence? Your bosses, us, the people sitting behind me, and those watching on video. For 3 years, the people tried to obtain the 3 active body cameras of this attack, but we were told repeatedly by the $50,000 a month city attorney, Brian Pyrick, that they were not disclosable.
Ma'am, your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your testimony. Next speaker.
And he did that by citing false penal codes and case law. We even sent the police department that is called a litigation hold memo in 2021. That if you would not disclose this footage, you were to preserve them. And yet 2 of them were destroyed anyway, and 1 was sent to us in federal litigation, had been tampered with, and ends abruptly just before this man gets attacked. So all the body camera footage of your betrayal of the people is gone forever. And to add insult to injury, we paid for this. The people of Carmel and the tourists paid for their own enslavement. We know a caller called last month to read off partially what happened to the attorney you hired, Jonathan Redford, when he tried in vain to defend your attempts to conquer us. For the entirety of the time he tried to attach himself to this case, he wasn't admitted to practice law in that court. And time permitting, we were going to read to all the people of Carmel the confession John Redford was ordered to enter into the case. Then thank goodness someone held you accountable for your crimes against nature. Quote, I made the unfortunate and regrettable mistake of erroneously believing that I had already admitted to practice in the court that the Bakula case was venued in when I first became aware of the case. As a result, I erroneously and regrettably did not apply for admission with the California District of California when I first appeared in this case as counsel for the Carmel defendants. Moreover, because of this unintentional mistake I made, I did file many motions and make court appearances in this matter prior to becoming admitted to practice in the Northern District of California. I take full responsibility for this mistake and aver to the court that said mistake was not done with my intent to deceive or fraud the court or the plaintiff in this manner, or with any intent to engage in unprofessional conduct in violation of the local rules. The fact is that I did exercise the privilege of membership in the Northern District of California when I was not entitled to do so for a period of time. However, during that time, I did so regrettably unaware that I was doing so and set forth above, and sincerely apologize to the court for that. Immediately upon learning of my mistake, I applied for admission to the Northern California District and was admitted on February 27th, 2024.
Next speaker, please. Thank you.
Good evening. I think the picture that's being painted here is one where the government has gone beyond the bounds that restrict it. The Constitution restricts what city, county, state governments can do. It's really unfortunate that that has happened, but everybody's going to be responsible for the choices that they made during that time. And unfortunately, the attorney that you hired, Jonathan Redford, wasn't admitted to practice before the first district. And all of the documents that were submitted on your behalf through him should not have been valid in that court. It would be nice to be able to repair these mistakes, to be able to reconnect, and to be able to honor God and to honor the people. So I would just encourage you all to really reflect on that, perhaps reflect on the Constitution, the First Amendment, freedom of association, the Fourth Amendment, the right to be secure in your persons, papers, houses, and property. And that's a very big responsibility for everybody, and we all need to take it very seriously. So I'd just like to ask you, as some of you are leaving, you won't be in public service anymore, perhaps you may be able to contribute another way, but please reflect on this, and please just remember that God created man, and man created government, and government shouldn't be becoming between God and man. We own the earth, we own the beach. The beach doesn't close. It's not a shop, it's not private property. We're entitled, it's also in the California Constitution, Article 10, Section 4. We have a right to access navigable waterways, okay? So we need to be really careful when we're heavy-handed and we take away rights from the free people, from the American people. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your testimony. Next speaker.
Congratulations, council members. It's very rare that you have a majority leaving at one time. My name is Sam Farr. I grew up in Carmel, and after graduating from Carmel High School, went away for college and went into the Peace Corps and came back and got into elective office at the local level and spent 44 years in elective office. The wonderful thing about growing up in Carmel was that we had a town full of characters. And it's nice to be here tonight to see we still have many. I want to tell you, though, that the dialogue in Washington, as we remember, Washington, the Constitution was created by local government, and you remain the powers that you didn't grant to the federal government. But the members of Congress, all coming up from different districts all over the United States, the one common thing they say is all politics is local. Because everybody who's in Congress or in the White House or in the Supreme Court or in the Senate all comes from other parts of the country. And so your responsibility at the local level is to carry out the laws that the federal government makes and the state government makes. It's the toughest position to be in local government. And David always asked me, what of your 3 positions in county supervisor, state legislature, and Congress, which was your favorite? And I said, looking back on them all, local government. Because local government, you can really do things. Here you have, you don't have a bicameral council. You don't have to, everything you do, it doesn't have to go to another council. You don't have a governor or president has to sign your laws, 3 members of the majority, and you have as many powers as the city of Los Angeles. What's remarkable about this council, and despite all these, I didn't know we had so many problems, but because in Congress, everybody said, where are you from? I said, Carmel, California. This is my favorite town in all of the United States. This town is recognized around the world. And it's because of that charter right there that says predominantly a residential city. And what I really commend the retiring members, all you council members, is you had to make a really tough decision. You were the 2nd city in Monterey County to adopt a housing element. A housing element where Carmel, the people that wrote that the people that built the city can't live here anymore. And you're dedicated to keeping that character, that quality, that value of really all classes of people living in the city. And I really commend you on that. And that's brave. That's a tough vote. You're the first city now with that. I think Salinas is the other. And for that, you can now qualify for a lot of state grants that you couldn't do it without an adopted housing policy. So I commend you, and I'll tell you, retirement is great. But you sure miss the power of being able to do good and do right. And you've done plenty of it. Congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it. You can just go thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you don't, but okay, let's go. Yes, next speaker.
Hello. What I have to say is easy to say. It's following a hard act in the presence of Sam Farr. But before I get into it, I'm going to say just a very warm and heartfelt greeting to the City Council here, including Emperor Rarig and King Potter. My reason for being here is very simple. I am the outgoing president of the board of directors of the Carmel Youth Center. And over the years, the City Council has been a friend to the Youth Center, and many of the members up here specifically have been very helpful. So I'm not going to prattle on about how you've helped or anything like that. Just going to end it very quickly by saying thank you so much. Your presence, your support has been very helpful over the years, and I sincerely hope you keep it up. We have 2 new members of the board of directors coming in that you will be familiar with pretty soon if you're not already. So for all you've done, thank you so much. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Next speaker.
Good evening. My name is Graham Robertson, 59-year resident of Carmel-by-the-Sea, current president of the Carmel Residents Association. And on behalf of the Board of Directors of the Carmel Residents Association, we extend our hearty congratulations to Mayor Potter, Councilperson Ferlito, and Councilperson Richards for all your hard work, commitment, and sensitivity to our community. We've been around for 108 years. I think we've done pretty well for 108 years. And while we might not agree on everything, we can agree to disagree and not be disagreeable. And the collaboration, the teamwork, and all that you've done for our community is to be commended. We wish you great success in your retirement from the dais. We're looking forward to seeing you around town, and we thank you for all your hard work. Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks, Peter.
Hi, my name is Andy Carr, and I have something to talk about. But before I do, I want to thank you all for your service as well. Might not have agreed with everything that you have talked about or your decisions, but I appreciate your efforts. I appreciate you serving. And, you know, there's always a lot of opinions. There's two sides to every story. I am sorry about the people that have come up here for the issue that they discussed about Carmel Beach and what went on with that. I would like to hope and think that perhaps we can revisit that to see what can be done to talk to the people that were involved, to see if something more positive can come out of that situation. So I was sorry to hear about all that. I'm up here because there's work that's being done on San Antonio, and I have been to several meetings where they have spoken about...
Actually, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We're not on public comment. We're obviously commenting on the retirement of the three people from the council.
Okay,
so you get another shot at it. Thank you.
Hi, Sarah Hines, Governing Board Member for Carmel Unified School District. I would just like to take this moment to express my deep gratitude to Mayor Potter and outgoing Councilmember Richards for their unwavering support of our Carmel Public Schools, students, staff, and teachers. Their dedication to strengthening the relationship between Carmel Unified School District and the City of Carmel-by-the-Sea has been invaluable. Both have played an instrumental role in the Community Liaison Committee, which has helped solidify our partnership and set shared goals for the future of us both. It would have been incredibly easy for the City Council and Mayor to overlook Carmel schools since none of them are located within the city limits. However, Mayor Potter has consistently prioritized our schools, engaged with us regularly for student visits to City Hall, attending events, and supporting initiatives like mock trial and other clubs at Carmel High School. Mayor Potter's continued commitment, along with the council, to our district has made a lasting impact, and we are incredibly grateful for all of your leadership. As I look ahead, I'm excited about continuing the partnership we've built with the new mayor and incoming council members, and I'm confident that the relationship between the City of Carmel and Carmel Unified will only grow stronger. Thank you again, Mayor Potter and Councilmember Richards, for your outstanding dedication, support, and service to this community. I wish you all the best going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate it. Next speaker. Gary, your time's up. You've already spoken once.
Each one of you has a packet
Gary,
in front of you with your name on it, and the people can see, so does the city clerk.
Gary, sit down.
Ignoring it.
Gary, sit down. Thank you.
The city I was in, the city manager, the city clerk conspired to take that information away from you under the stand.
Okay, next speaker. Is there anybody else in the House wishing to speak tonight? We do have some people on the internet. Okay, why don't we go then to Zoom world? Oh, sorry. Does somebody else want to speak inside?
My name is Ian Martin. I'm a resident, former planning commissioner. I wanted to thank Karen, Mayor Potter, and Bobby. But I want to just take a moment and single out Bobby, because I think Bobby, get ready, has been a pillar of decency and civil discourse and a role model for everybody who serves in our community, in our government, about how to conduct yourself. And Bobby, wow, you know, as you are keenly aware, several years ago, you really took a great deal of heat. You were the lone wolf for just and righteous purposes, and you stood your ground, but you did so with civility and decency in a way that I hope that others will see as an example about how to conduct themselves as they lead this community. So thank you to the three of you, and Bobby, thank you for your decency.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Is there anybody else wishing to speak inside? Before I go out to the internet, is there anybody else in here wishing to speak? All right.
Just to confirm, this is comment on the recognition item?
Strictly on the comments on the resigning or retiring council members, not on general comments. Okay. So is that noted? Gail, do you want to speak? Gail's out. Okay. Catherine, do you want to speak?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Catherine, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I want to comment and just say that public service is about, over anything, abiding by the law. And there are not federal laws that are abidable if they impinge on the rights of the people in your jurisdiction. So the rights are enumerated in the Bill of Rights, and the Constitution is the primary source of law. So if you're ever confused about that, I know many of you are going out, and while you may have done some good things for the community, you also have a blot on your record with the way that you handled the beach during COVID and the way that you complied with some foreign agent coming into our country and taking over in a way that was totally wrong. But for those of you that are coming in that might be listening, you need to go and study what and how government works, because it isn't about sitting on international mayors associations. That is treason. It's about understanding the fundamental power that you are given, that you are delegated by the people. And if something abridges speech, if something abridges the right to bear arms, if something searches and seizes without due process of law, then it's wrong. It's super easy. It's a really simple exercise. And if your chief of police doesn't understand it, there are many constitutional educators out there that would be happy to do a free educational seminar for your police department. It would save you all and your taxpayers millions of dollars by just doing these simple educational exercises. And when you see that anything like this ever happen again, and we could sit and go through your agenda and I can point out to you what's lawful and what's not lawful. But if you know how government works and you know how the law works and you know that you're there to serve the people, the next time anything happens this magnitude, you're going to be the right person and you're going to stop it. Now, yes, thank you for your service, but let's be real. The service that you've provided in the last 4 years has been questionable and has been subpar. And I feel bad for the people going out that this is your legacy. But for the people coming in, make it not your legacy. Uphold the law. That's all the people in that gallery want you to do. That's all those of us on the line want you to do. It's really simple. If you need educational resources, I'm happy to send them your way. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Next speaker. Call user 1. Is out. Okay. Got somebody ending in 1831, and it's a 133 number, ending in 133.
Phone number ending in 133, go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, here they go.
So then let's move on, then we'll try guest. User 1, guest. User 1.
Hold on a second. Which one are we on now?
One,
oh, they went away? Okay.
Yeah, 133.
Let's go to Gene, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Gene. Gene, you have the floor. Gene's out. Gene, you're muted. Here you go.
Now?
Can you hear now?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. I'm calling because I as well wish to pick up on the tragic story of all the poor choices by Mr. Potter and Chip Rarig choosing to pretend that they had the right to close nature to the people, costing huge amounts of money that we the people are paying, and those costs are still rising because the errors have never been admitted nor atoned for. Worse, the first story of how the first attorney turned out not to be registered was followed by a complete duplicate. The same company, Carpenter, Rothens, and Dumont, next had Esther Teixeira file a notice of appearance because she was supposed to replace Redford, but she as well had not registered. These are incredible coincidences and or something that maybe was just going to get to come to your attention one way or another. And it is costing the people terribly. But how about just noticing what was posted in your agendas for the second half of 2020, where you, Mayor Potter, Council members Jeff Barron and Bobby Richards, approved of the following. Section 2, ordering that the rules should apply to the city beaches, that, and without going into so much detail, that there would be punishments for sunbathing, barbecues, having a cooler, etc. Did you honestly think it was okay to tell us, we the people, the original authors and continuing source of government, that you would threaten that we should be punished with 6 months in jail for sunbathing or bringing a cooler onto the beach? Who do you think you are doing that? Please remember that on July 17th, 2020, Chief Paul Tomasi gave an interview with the Carmel Pinecone, further threatening the people, his bosses who pay for his job, that if we brought a chair onto Carmel Beach, we could face a jury trial. The case that you invited onto yourselves with your brash and foolish choices was filed because of your attempts to lay claim to a part of the coast that shows what happens when you violate the laws of the one God who created our beautiful beach in the first place. The spiraling errors of your attorneys that were set in motion by a power which no man on earth can oppose can serve as a caution to politicians everywhere. Those coming in do not
your time is up.
repeat
Thank
these
you.
errors.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker. We'll go on. Let's try 133 again. 133. Okay.
Phone number ending in 133, go ahead.
Last call.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Go
we
ahead.
can.
Is there? Is
Can you
there?
speak
do you
up a
know-
little bit?
Speak again.
Yeah.
I'm hearing something else. Sorry, can someone tell me whether my voice is being heard?
Sorry, we can't hear you very well.
You can't hear very well? Well, I hope you listened to the people who were there in the room doing their best. Some of the others didn't seem to grasp this big story from 2020 is still dragging on because the people of Carmel need to have the apology from Mr. Potter and Mr. Rarick to say that they were wrong, to bring an expensive lawsuit rightly placed because good, honest people were harmed by these terrible choices. And they were the only brave people to actually stand and say, that's not all right. You can't arrest people for walking on the beach. This is just wrong. And we, the people, I am thrilled to hear so many speaking up at this meeting. We have the right to have you speak to this, and our requests have gone completely ignored all these years since 2020. Would you please, Mr. Potter, make it your parting comment finally that you realize this expensive mistake you made should be atoned for, and that you, as a man, do not wish for your soul to be marred in the way that you have harmed your fellow brothers and sisters under God. Please do what's right. Finally, we are deserving for having paid for all this time from Mr. Rarick to be in position that at least you, an elected, tell Mr. Rarick you see how wrong all of that was. Please do your duty with the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, C. Roy. Hey, Roy.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. C. Roy here. California, college educated, multiple decades in the Bay Area, love coming to Carmel. I just want to suggest, I'm going to read several quotes by very smart civics leaders and philosophers, and then reflect on the situation that happened over COVID. First is from Benjamin Franklin. They who can give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. By Thomas Jefferson, the spirit of resistance to government is so valuable on certain occasions that I wish it to be always kept alive. Another one from Benjamin Franklin. Only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. As nations become corrupt and vicious, they have more need of masters. And from John Hancock, resistance to tyranny becomes the Christian and social duty of each individual. Continue steadfast and with the proper sense of your dependence on God. Nobly defend those rights which heaven gave, and no man ought to take from us. James Madison. I believe there are more instances of the abridgment of freedom of the people by gradual and silent encroachment by those in power than by violent and sudden usurpations. There are more, but I want to cut to the chase. Mayor Potter, Chip Rarig, honored council members, this really is your opportunity to make things right. There was no authority for what was done. There was a petite woman who stood up for the entire county, for the entire city of Carmel-by-the-Sea, for the children that are growing up and deserve freedom. No one was there to support her. Officers, public safety officers, attacked visitors on the beach. A visitor on the beach took this petite libertarian woman into custody and arrested her. Dear council members, I highly recommend one of you be brave enough to make a motion and second it and pass it, that a civic service medal from the city of Carmel be awarded to this patriot, this woman, this lover of liberty, Teresa Bakula, who you persecuted. Make the record right. Show your courage. Be an American that stands up for the principles of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you, C. Roy. TRW, you're next.
Yes, thank you for your time. My name is Tim, and by the way, I can't see. Is the city attorney still awake? The one who cost the taxpayers over $600,000 per year? I can't see. Looks like possibly. In the spring of 2020, when cities and counties were declaring lockdowns and claiming deaths from a pandemic, we actually went to the hospitals because we had to see for ourselves what was really happening. What we found was that they were mostly empty. Nurses were sent home. One medic even told us he thinks it's a scam. We were shocked, but we weren't really surprised. It wasn't the first time this has happened, but it was definitely the biggest one. But if I knew that there was no pandemic then why didn't you know, Mr. Potter, Mr. Rarig, and anyone else who was running the city at the time? Why did you continue a fear campaign to traumatize the public? Many of whom are still traumatized. They're running around with masks on, breathing their own waste like mental patients. We now know that less people died in 2020 than in 2019. So few people died, in fact, that the WHO had to change the definition of a pandemic. I have friends who committed suicide because they were suffering from depression, and your policies pushed them over the edge. One friend has 5 children who still won't talk to him or let him see his grandchildren because he didn't want to wear a mask or take the experimental gene therapy jab, which killed my father and thousands of other people. His wife left him for the same reasons. My wife lost her business. Countless people lost their jobs and businesses, their life savings. Can you even begin to comprehend the trauma and devastation that your actions have caused? Have any of you issued a public apology for what your actions have caused? Would you like to apologize right now to the public? I didn't think so. You know, public servants like you who violate your oaths to the Constitution will go down in history as tyrants. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Number 837, phone number ending in 837, the floor is yours.
Hello, Brian Rosen here. You know, I remember when I was helping an environmental organization, I would run into Mr. Potter in front of Whole Foods Market, and I thought very highly of him back then. He was working hard to bring the train back. He seemed like he was a really good, positive influence. And I'm really sorry that he ended up helping the horrible environmentally destructive surf project, which will destroy substantially the second most important dune complex in California, the Marina Dunes, that he helped make that happen. And people of Carmel really need to be aware of what their members are on these various agencies, who their members are on Transportation Agency for Monterey County and MST, because Mr. Potter and Mr. Barron have consistently helped make this horrible environmentally destructive project. And it's just so horrendous to spend almost $100 million to bypass a few miles of traffic, and the rest of the highway stays even more crowded because it's a 2-lane highway instead of a 3-lane highway. And so, Mr. Potter, I wish you well, of course, and I hope that people can forgive you because we've all made mistakes, and forgiveness is very important for our health. We must forgive if we're going to be healthy. But you yourself have made mistakes, and you could go in the right direction, and you could apologize for mistakes you've made, and you could become a contributing part of the positive contributor to the community's welfare. And I'm sure people will forgive you if you do the right thing, and we all make mistakes, and power is very tempting. But I'm so sorry for your role in Tampsey that you didn't stand out against this horrible project. And now what you could do, if only you would you could make a difference. You could encourage the next person, the next mayor and city council to oppose this very environmentally destructive surf project. You don't want to destroy the trees in Carmel, so don't destroy the trees in Marina and the sand dune habitat, endangered species, and all of that. So please do the right thing, because people really do want to think well of you. You have goodness inside of you, and maybe you made some mistakes, but if you could please do that. I'm so sorry that Mr. Barron and Mr. Potter had to be part of that horrible environmentally destructive surf project. And as far as the pandemic is concerned, I never bought the argument that Big Pharma was the knight in shining armor that was going to save us, and I wasn't vaccinated.
Brian, your time is up. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Okay, Laura Bezix, you have the floor. Laura, sorry.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hi.
we can.
Yep. Hi, I'm a 7-year resident of Santa Cruz County. I was there in 2020, and I will never forget the despicable tyranny that we were subjected to in our own backyards. What happened then is not over because justice has not been served. And these people need to be held accountable for their violations and crimes against humanity. There are historical parallels here to the worst governments in history. Tyrants always try to justify their tyranny by claiming it's for the people's safety. It's for the greater good. But there is no excuse for violating people's God-given rights to be at peace in nature on a public beach. It's outrageous and sickening that we actually had to live through that. And these people need to, at the very least, give us a huge apology for their disgraceful acts. We're waiting.
Thank you, Laura. Next speaker is Gail Nukanam. Gail.
Yes, thank you. People all over are waking up to the collusion between government agencies regarding this pandemic, including beach closures between the cities and the counties and education and the police and the health department. And I would like to bring some attention to that. There's a whistleblower that was talking about the hoax of the COVID vaccine. And I will start out with what this article says about not about the deadly COVID operation. At a November 22 House Freedom Caucus roundtable discussion, U.S. Congress members asked Drs. Jay Bhattacharya, Martin Kulldorff, and Scott Atlas what to do about deaths and disabilities from the COVID bioweapon operation, including murderous lockdowns, injections, and masks. They responded, we should move forward and not punish individuals. Well, I disagree with that. But here's what Dr. Kennedy, RFK Jr. says. He said that, if I can find the quote here, just a moment.
Gail, the meter's running.
I'll have to look for that in a second. Right now, currently, what's going on is monkeypox. Actually, here's a Kennedy quote. He says, according to Kennedy, COVID was a military operation with close involvement of the U.S. Department of Defense and the military-industrial complex. Kennedy argues that the DoD was in full charge and paid pharmaceutical companies for their brand names, so people would think they were getting something from Pfizer or Moderna. Now the next thing coming up is supposed to be monkeypox. But there's a whistleblower, Dr. Woodolf from Germany, who says that the monkeypox is a hoax. The United Nations World Health Organization has admitted that monkeypox is actually a side effect of the COVID mRNA vaccines. The admission is buried on the WHO's Vigi Access website. The website contains a database that lists all known side effects.
Gail, your time is up. Thank you for your testimony. I'm going to go to the last speaker on the internet, which appears to be user one. User one, the floor is yours, and then we'll go to this fellow who's been patiently waiting in front of the microphone here. User one.
Hi. I'm looking at a report about Japanese researchers
It's a killer vaccine worldwide. Japanese researchers say side effects of COVID vaccines linked to 201 types of diseases. I want to give you the source of this. This is Global Research article by Lee Harding and Professor Michelle Choksudovsky from September 21st of this year. And part of what I'm reading refers to the confidential Pfizer report. The impact on mortality and morbidity of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine has been confirmed by a Pfizer confidential report. There's a book out now edited by Naomi Wolf called The Pfizer Papers that goes into detail. Back to the article, released and made public under the Freedom of Information Act in October 2021. The confidential Pfizer report, barely acknowledged by the media, was known to federal governments and health authorities worldwide. It confirms that the so-called COVID vaccine is a killer. Now, this states that this information was released to governments and health authorities worldwide. I am wondering what the Carmel City Council had in their information. Pfizer proceeded with this dangerous vaccine even though they knew the harm. Let's see, back here. The impact, let's see, the regulation, the negotiation between Pfizer and the president of the EU, Mrs. Ursula von der Leyen, was initiated in October 2022 for a 4.5 billion doses of Pfizer BioNTech, formerly 10 namely 10 doses per person. A contract for 1 billion doses was subsequently reached for a population of 450 million people who in large
Sorry, ma'am, your time is up. Thank you for your testimony. Okay, that closes the Presume World comments, I believe, unless there's somebody else out there. Nova, do you see anybody? I'll bring it back to the room here. Sir, you've been standing there patiently for a while.
Thank you. Thank you. I would first like to say that I am a peacemaker, and I am God's name. And face it, you are God too. And God is just the creation energy. It's not a man and all that kind of crap. So when someone enters the name God, don't worry about it. It's the energy within you. And the whole spirit here, I am going to lift up because I am an uplifter. I taught karate for 20 years. My heart is going pretty quick right now, but to stay calm in the midst of the norm. That's one of my poem titles. We are staying calm and working out with our disagreements without being disagreeable. That doesn't mean something doesn't have to turn. So what's happening now, the internet is enlightening the entire world with the truth, and the truth that the vaccines are poisonous, that there's many people, the history of the world is to kill humanity. So when humanity is waking up, the age of Aquarius right now, each and every one of you, when you look in the mirror at night or in the morning, or even if you do, you have that conscious conversation with your own God, because face it, you're God. You control your own world. And forgiveness is a carnal thing. The God thing is the way things are. Yes, no, maybe, whatever. You guys did your thing, and I appreciate every one of you for doing it, because you exposed the carnality of the government's attitude money instead of the people's welfare. So anyway, I have 1:11 to go. I would just like to say, I appreciate all you guys' work. I'm a very funny guy, and that's not only looking and sounding, but I know all about humor. I'm the king of humor. I am a joke, one of my titles. I'm not sure why Mr. Bobby Richards laughs all the time when there's human woes being expressed, and he's over here not giving a damn. Do I get to actually hear someone talk? Can I converse with? Can I ask him what he was smiling about? Is that legal?
No, you can't.
No? Okay. Well, I guess would like to say at nighttime when you look in the mirror, you can ask yourself, and that's for you to answer. But it's society's thing as a whole, if we're going to get along. We have a human homeostasis going on. Another one of my poem titles. It's about being peaceful to the children who are rowdy. You don't kill your own kid because he's not being what you want. Everyone has their own right to express as long as it's peaceful and no one else gets hurt. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to speak tonight?
Hi, guys. I read the agenda, and this is the recognition for your service.
Exactly.
Not to pick on you, I bring up 4 years ago craziness, and I had 5 shots of vaccine. I haven't died. My whole family is vaccinated, and they're all well, thank goodness. But I want to thank especially Bobby, because Bobby has a good sense of humor. And so do I. And I think most of you do. And I also, the city attorney. Whatever they're paying you, it is not enough. It is not enough. So consequently, I came up here that because of recognition. Each of you, I know a few of you better than others, but you all have done an outstanding job. And as they say, you have to make the hard decisions, including our police chief. All of them are hard decisions, and you're not going to please everyone. But if you make a decision, I won't be here talking about it for 4 years. It's over, get over it, move on, and not holding grudges. And you don't have to apologize to me or anybody else. I thank you for your service and for being here. And I'm speaker number 21. I kept track. And the patience you guys show is outstanding.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to speak tonight? I believe this might be the last speaker tonight.
Mayor Potter, members of the council, city staff, Paul Tomasi, excellent, chief of police, Nova, who is patient with everything. My name is Cindy Lloyd, and I just want to thank you for all you put up with, for all you do, for all of the preparation before all the council meetings, for all the research, and for taking care of Carmel, for preserving her and maintaining her. It's a tough job, and I hope the next council does not have to undergo the kind of remarks that you've been so patiently listening to tonight. So thank you for everything you've done. And Karen, enjoy your retirement. Same to you, Bobby, and same to you, Dave. Retirement's really wonderful. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Cindy. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bobby, Mayor Potter, and Karen. Thank you for your friendship and welcoming me to the community. I was not involved in local government. You taught me how to participate, and I really appreciate that. And Mayor Potter, you've taught us to say that one can agree with the prior speakers and get off the podium. And I'd just like to say that Cindy's remarks and Donna's remarks, I totally agree with. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. I believe that closes the public comments on this item tonight. So we'll move on then. Why don't we go on to the bridge, the presentation of Bridge to Everywhere. We have a representative of Parks District present. It's a presentation only.
I'm still trying to recover from earlier part in the meeting. I was afraid we were going to have to use this earlier on. I want to talk to you about possibilities. I'm going to talk to you about a program that some of you saw this afternoon down in the park behind the mission.
Oh, he just told me.
Sir, I have the floor, sir.
Excuse me. Just pick it up. Just pick it up and let's go. Just pick it up.
So,
okay, let's go.
Okay. Well, again, there's two people, the mayor and Karen, that represents Ag that has never told you about it. Is changing your whole system.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your testimony. Good night.
Good move.
Okay, Ken, let's start over again.
Yeah, I've been going to meetings since 1960s. I've never witnessed an afternoon like this. I'm sorry you had to go through that. But I want to talk about possibilities, something possible that is good, clean, healthy, and it's about a bridge to everywhere, a bridge to everywhere. I'm still upset. Well, I get it. And this is a possibility that can be expanded well past just the title. It has to do with hiking. It has to do with walking. And if you've looked around the peninsula lately, the hiking clubs, walking groups are proliferating. People are looking for different places to go and hike. Well, CAUD, Carmel Area Wastewater District, is helping fund the beginning of a campaign to replace a bridge across the Carmel River. And that bridge is a narrow, over 70 years old. It is failing. CAUD happens to be the organization that treats our sewage and makes it usable on gardens and golf courses. Our main line is under that bridge, across under the river. What we're hoping to do is introduce you today and the public to this plan to renew that bridge and design hiking trails from the parking lot at the foot of the Ocean Avenue around the point, along Scenic, around the point, past the River School and the Mission Ranch, and into the property behind the Mission. And then what we're going to do is continue the trail across Real Road up to Mission Trail Park and exit down through usually Carmel Business District. We also want to add, crossing the bridge, that you will be able then to be able to cross Highway 1 under it soon, we hope, and give you access to the parks in the valley, the golf course park, and the one past it. And then eventually to Point Lobos. This is all one plan that we'd like to get you interested in supporting. We would welcome the city agreeing with the CAUD district to a lease of the property behind the Mission. And since it's floodplain, I don't think you're going to ever be able to build there, so we'd like to keep it open space and light use for the public if it's necessary. So you're going to see the plans council has, and you're going to have a presentation by our committee members. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. And again, this is just a presentation only tonight. No decisions, no public hearing. So thank you.
Good evening. My name is Laura Bowling, and I'm here as part of the Bridge to Everywhere Committee. I am also a Friends of Mission Trail Nature Preserve board member, and the Mission Trail is part of this project. There is a strong connection between walking and well-being, a connection that city planners use all over in order to basically improve cities in terms of economic value, home values, health values, everything. And we think we have an opportunity to create a trail that will literally help improve our health and well-being. And that's really what this project is about. Ken basically gave a good overview, but sort of distill it down. What the Bridge to Everywhere actually is we want to connect the trails in Carmel-by-the-Sea to the state parks and the regional parks, lands south of the Carmel River. A new community trail and pedestrian bridge across the Carmel River then will connect several networks of disconnected trails and parks. What makes this project extraordinary is that it requires no land purchase. All of these properties are currently in public ownership. They also do not require any additional parking. The key benefit, though, is that it will significantly enhance walkability and access to the unbelievable beauty that we have here in the Carmel area. And that's why we call it the Bridge to Everywhere. All of the spectacularly beautiful places that we have in the Carmel area, we have the opportunity with this walking trail and pedestrian bridge to connect together. So it's both a bridge and it bridges to those places. Patrick and I are kind of doing a little bit of a duet tonight. And of course, that is the Cod Bridge, which is sort of the center of the hub. But we're gonna go back and forth in terms of walking through the presentation.
Okay. So this is an overview map to give you an idea of all of the trails that are exist in Carmel, and right in the middle there in the red, you can see it says Cod Bridge. So that's the project that we're trying to get moving forward. And it's really right in the middle, and it bridges north and south. So the city of Carmel in the north, people walk in downtown, go to shops, they walk along the beach, they walk in Mission Trail Nature Preserve, but then they can't go to the south of the river, and they can't get to the east of Highway 1. They can't get to Hatton Canyon, really. And so we're working with all of these agencies that are shown on this map. You got the state parks, the regional parks, and the city to, this is part of the whole project is bridging all of these agencies as well, so that we can all work together and envision a regional trail system and work together on that. And that's another manifestation of this bridging of everything, everywhere, all things. So we see this bridge as kind of the hub of this vision of trails being connected, and it could be even more than what we're showing here. And this is really a grassroots effort. The people that comprise this Bridge to Everywhere committee was kind of started as part of the Carmel Area Wastewater District, because we own the existing bridge, and so we have an property interest in that area and all of the infrastructure that we maintain. But it's grown a lot, and it involves a lot of people in the community and the Mission Trail, the Friends of Mission Trail, and a lot of just residents of the area and just upstanding members of the community. So there's 10 connections that we're going to highlight as part that are connected by this Bridge to Everywhere, and the tagline is more connections, more joy, because the more we can bring people together, places together, agencies together, the better our community is going to be. So we're going to go through these pretty quick, just to not take up too much time. You want to do this one?
Oh, no, you can do it.
Okay, yeah. Laura's the one of the board members of the Friends of Mission Trail, and so this is like Carmel's Central Park, and so this is really close to where the bridge site is. It's right across Rio Road, and it's just a beautiful, Redwood Grove Creek, great trails right in the middle of Carmel, and it kind of offloads right in downtown Carmel. So, having this as a real good tourist feature, and then leading into the commercial district. The other area is right by the Carmel Mission, and so this is Larson Field. This is the ballpark right next to Carmel Mission, and we've worked a lot with the diocese and talking to them about, you know, their property there, and they're very cooperative and want to be part of this this vision. And so the trail would go through their property, which is this shows an existing sewer easement that the Carmel Area Wastewater District has a sewer line through there. So nothing can ever get built there because it's basically infrastructure for the community. And so I'm going to get to this video that shows this is coming off of Mission Trail going south, and this is Real Road. So the trail would come off of Mission Trail and then cross the ballpark. And then at the end of kind of the screen here is where the bridge is. You'll see the river for a second to the left. And then we're flying over Rio Park here. And so that's the city's property. And that's a big part of why we're here, is to talk about what the city's going to do with that property. This shows kind of where a trail would go through this is Larson Field, through the Mission Diocese owned property. The third connection here is Real Park, so this is the city-owned property. It's currently being used as a storage yard. There could be a lot more potential for actually making that storage yard into something that people in the community could benefit directly from by going there, and it being kind of a sanctuary river access location. This is kind of a, you know, we just had to do some kind of 3D rendering, so it wouldn't necessarily look like this, but you know, you get the idea. We're trying to develop the vision. This little trail section that's shown here on the image this is on COD's property, so we could develop a trail on the COD-owned property without going on the city property, but we felt like that, you know, having a beautiful community asset walking through this area, it would be nice if there wasn't like a bunch of storage, like a storage yard right next to where what we envision as being like a, you know, sanctuary, a walking location to the river and to this bridge. So I'm going to talk about this bridge too, because this was actually built in the 30s, right after the Golden Gate Bridge was built. So it's actually going on 90 years old. We don't use it anymore for anything, actually, any of our infrastructure. It's a suspension bridge, just like the Golden Gate Bridge, but we do use it to just access our infrastructure on either side of the river. So it is an asset that COD uses and sees as an asset. We will have to upgrade this eventually, and if the sewer district was just going to spend ratepayer money, we would only upgrade it to just the sewer needs, which is not a publicly open bridge. It would just be a utility bridge like it is now. So we see the benefit that for the broader community, so we're trying to bring it out to the broader community for support. Here's a video looking at this location. It's a really pretty spot. It's really unique part of the river down towards the lower part of the river. So there's actually water in it year round, even though the river will dry up a little bit farther upstream. The effect of the lagoon here keeps the water there, and you'll see steelhead from the bridge looking down. You can see the steelhead swimming, and then every once in a while we see kids swimming right there. Another connection is an old asset that COD used to use, which is an old access road. So this is just on the south side of the river. This is an existing paved road that basically is not used by anybody, but it's been abandoned. And so we can see repurposing this old road to be a trail that's part of the network and would connect to the Carmel River Free Causeway underpass that will go to the east, the parklands to the east. It's our nice, pretty riparian habitat. You see bobcats, coyotes, birds. You know, a lot of birders go down here. We've been working with state parks and they're open to this because this goes through their property. It's right on the right-hand side of the picture. You can kind of see the road next to the river. We've since had a new road built that's more substantial, and so we don't use the old road. And then you'll see it pop up here for a second. You can see the power lines. It goes right along the power lines there.
Obviously, the Carmel Scenic Pathway and Carmel Point and River Lagoon are amazing assets. And as Patrick was going through, I wanted to sort of step back a bit and talk about a few other key points that we think the Bridge to Everywhere affords, including safety. We had gone through crossing Rio Road and the Rio Park area. Over the past year and a half, our committee has reached out to over 30 different groups. So we have the support of state parks, regional parks. We have the Mission Fields neighborhood groups, the Carmel River School groups. All of these have been really listening sessions for people to understand and give us ideas and their thoughts about what we could do to make something like this work. And so safety is children's safety, walking to school and having a safe pathway so that they can get down to the river school is certainly another point that I just wanted to point out. But this area, of course, is exceptional and extraordinary, and as we've talked with our various partners, from state and regional parks, they all realize too that being able to connect to these areas, including places like Hatton Canyon, and which again, each one of these in their own right is extraordinary and exceptional, and we each know them. We all go to certain places depending on where we live. But the idea is how can we both expand it, but also strategically protect it? Because I think everyone in this room and on the council would agree that each one of these amazing places is part of the reason we came to Carmel and that we want to live in this beautiful space. Palo Corona is an incredible park run by the Regional Parks Group, and it's amazing what has happened even in the time that I've been living here in terms of this going from a golf course to a fantastic park where I can walk my golden retrievers every day. So again, I know it's been a long evening and we want to get through to some of the core issues that face you guys, but Patrick, I'm going to turn this back over to you to go through Carmel River Free.
Yep. So the Carmel River Free project, many of you are probably familiar with it, but it's going to build a causeway where the Highway 1 kind of meets up with the lagoon so that water can flow under the new causeway, and that's going to actually create the ability to connect the west side of Highway 1 to the east side of Highway 1 without having to cross Highway 1. So right now the only place you can really cross in this area is the huge 5 or 6 lane freeway of Rio Road stoplight. So it's not very picturesque nature crossing, but this would allow you to make this crossing without stepping foot on pavement. So that all lines up, which is great. How these other disparate projects can come together. And then lastly, Monastery Beach. So we're working on ways to connect the trail to the south, get from the bridge to the beach, which right now you can't get there. But our group is looking, at all kinds of different ways to create new trails that connect all of these areas. So once again, the overview map there, and I'll let.
Obviously we're rushing. We built a beautiful website as well, bridge-to-everywhere.org if you want to learn more. But I wanted to, if I can, go back to Rio Park. because we had submitted about 10 weeks ago a lease that Chip Rarick helped us think through and basically using the Forest Theaters as a model. And so we basically submitted that lease, which would be a 99-year lease, to the City Council for review. And that's something that we really would like you to consider, because it's one of the easiest and first opportunities that we could move on in terms of bringing this to life for the community. We know there are issues to be discussed, like the corporate yard and location and those things, but turning this into a beautiful 6.5-acre parkland area for our community, we do think would be an extraordinary benefit. And it's easy to do. You guys have already started work on the cleanup. And I think Ken White mentioned there'd been some discussion about potentially could this area be used for affordable housing. And it's in a 100-year floodplain. And we think that that would be very doubtful that it could ever be used for that. But it's been over 30 years established as a parkland that the community could take advantage of. And we think it's the perfect moment for us to work with you to figure out how we can turn this into a like a preserve, similar to the Mission Trail, which doesn't have any permanent features, fixtures, no bathrooms, probably not even any picnic tables. It would literally be used as a contemplative and beautiful place to walk. So I think that's, Sam wants to step up.
I just want to end it shortly. I'm on the advisory committee, Sam Farr, and this property is owned by the city, but it's in the county, and it's not zoned for anything other than recreational, and it is a floodplain. I think in looking at all these things all my life, that what we're offering you is the Christmas gift. This is asking you to lease it for a long time at no cost to the city other than cleaning it up. And you get from it, I mean, Carmel is a walking experience. Cindy and I used to play down here because the Hodges stables were there, and we'd rent horses and play in that whole area that we're talking about right now. But if you think about Carmel, people come to Carmel Beach, but most people get there by walking. They're walking down Ocean Avenue. They're walking down other streets. You have an outdoor theater, it's Forest Theater. You walk to the theater. You walk around Carmel. It is a walking experience, and here you can expand this walking experience exponentially to be one of the greatest assets. Look at the surrounding areas, the whole the Fish Ranch, which is now the trails there managed by the Regional Park District. Everything on the south side or the east side of the bridge is all in public ownership, and on the west side, the state parks owns it, and that's a trail all the way to Point Lobos. So you could essentially be marketing Carmel, I think, frankly, as an economic asset. This is probably the greatest investment the city can make to expand the value of experience in Carmel and the value of staying here. And it's all green, and it's all enhancing what people love about this area, which is the aesthetics. So we're asking the council to lease that property to us for a long purpose. We'll take care of it, and it won't cost you a thing.
All right, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So this is a presentation item only. Just council comments quickly if there are any. Otherwise, we'll go on to the next item.
Just say beautiful one.
Thank you.
We just have a quick, small public comment session.
Okay, one quick comment, yeah. Come on, get up on the mic.
I just wanted to reiterate what Sam Farr said. I think this would be a fantastic opportunity for the residents. I think this would draw a whole different class of visitors to the area. And I personally get very excited when I think about this project. So I encourage everybody involved in helping our municipality carry this project forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You can't let Ian speak and not me. I'm bringing you a gift. This is a document from the council that I was on, which already did all the groundwork, legwork for this project. I think sometimes the thread is lost. You know, you guys are all new. you're two generations from me. The staff is all new. Chip was hired after this occurred. So was all the staff, maybe the police chief. You're the only one. But it's nobody's fault. It's just the thread gets lost. But I just wanted to let you, I'll give this to you guys and you can copy it or whatever, but there's 5 tasks that are outlined for completing this project or a modification of this project. 3 of them are accomplished in this document, so there's 2 steps left. All approvals for the affected parties were negotiated during my council time, the Mission Ranch, the Diocese, the COD, Carmel Youth Baseball. Why did my council pursue this publicly and openly without the full support of the community? Because it's in the general plan as a requirement. I think it's P446 requires establishing a trail from Mission Trail Nature Preserve to the Beach Bluff Trail. And another general plan policy, P230, talks about getting funding for that from other sources. So I just have to say it's been a delight for me to see this be picked up by this wonderful, resourceful volunteer committee that seems to have ironed out a lot of the financial issues that we were just about to address, and also some of the management issues. And this is the document that this is about legal easements and the mapping and all those conflicting crazy things that run across this property. But these folks have taken this a step further and talked about, getting toward the management of the property, getting toward the funding of the property, and working with the regional park system, which was involved with this, but hadn't yet the capacity to take it on as fully as it sounds like they can now. So anyway, I wanted to connect the dots for you and let you know that this has already been in the works. In fact, plans for this certainly predate my council back to when the 1995 floods, when folks thought that they needed to improve access through that, and also even prior to that, I hear, from the acquisition of the property itself. So this has been a plan in the making for many, many generations of us, and I look forward to you guys completing it.
Thank you, Victoria. Andy, did you want to speak?
Well, it sounds great, but I have a big but right now. We have a new council coming in. We have a budget that's overcommitted. We have to prioritize the issues for Carmel-by-the-Sea. And I made a promise to my friend here, the head police chief, that I'm going to push for the police station, and that should be the biggest issue on our agenda, in addition to the affordable housing. And those 2 things in itself are going to take a lot of time and energy, and I think we need to focus on those things and make them a priority. So.
Thank you, Andy. Is there anybody else wishing to speak tonight? Yeah. Who is it?
Phone number ending in 705. Go ahead.
705, you have the floor.
Yes, hello. Yes, I have a question. How many trees are going to be cut down? And does that include eucalyptus trees for this trail project? And then I have a comment.
Plant trees.
We're going to plant trees, not take any trees down.
Okay.
Well, I commend you for this. I commend you for this project, and I hope it goes through.
Thank you. Okay. We'll close the public comment period, then bring it back to council for comments. Council members?
Yes, I think this is a fantastic project, and the way you explain it won't cost us very much money at all. Just cleaning up the to make it more presentable. One thing that I go back to what Sam Farr said, this can be a very economic engine for the city, because people now want experiences when they come places. They really do. And birding is huge now. I just received from the Big Sur Land Trust for posting in Mission Trail a QR code. There's like 300 species of birds between Mission Trail and the lagoon area, and it draws people from all over the country. This is something that people can come here, stay here, and walk to and experience all day long as much as they want. So I think it's something that the new council should definitely make itself familiar with. I see many of you here today. And the last thing, and I know I've repeated this, but when we moved here, the purchase of this took place shortly after we got here, and my son was about 4 years old, I think, when we moved here, and I thought, oh, good, there'll be another park for him to play in. Well, he just turned 40 years old. And I think, there's a better and higher use for that place that will serve people and give them wonderful experiences for the rest of their lives. The last thing I'm going to say is Joyce Stevens, who some of you remember, she was just one of our most incredible citizens as far as preservation. And she always described Carmel as having an emerald necklace around it. And that was Hatton Canyon and all these lands that come around, and the beach and everything. And this is just one more piece to complete that necklace. And I urge all of you citizens to really become involved in this and help this come to fruition. And thank you very much, Victoria, for bringing that important piece of information to us. We learn all the time from the history of what can be. And it's really nice to see a project coming that is opportunity and positive. It's something that we could all be proud of together. So as an outgoing member, I will work hard to help this happen as well.
Other comments, Jeff?
I'll keep my comments brief. Thank you, Victoria, for bringing the report from however many years ago that was that we seem to have lost, and all of you for putting this together. I'm pretty excited about this project. As you can imagine, this is kind of up my alley, and I look forward to the new council discussing this when we get to the priority setting in a month or 2 or 3, however long it takes us to get there.
Excellent. Thank you. Anybody else? I'd just say, as council liaison to this group, it's very exciting. I'm very excited about the project. Wish the new council good luck with it, but it's going to take some lifting, and it's good lift, good work. Yeah.
I just have a quick item. Thank you very much for your presentation and the time and effort you put into this. I have a quick public safety concern with the walking after you've left that area along where the Mission Ranch is, above the area where the tennis courts are, and then just going along Mission Ranch to the school is a little bit of concern. Just as a pedestrian walking in that area, it's a little scary. So the thought of how would you formulate a wider path that people could go through? I mean, I'm not expecting answers now, but just that is a concern I would have.
Okay, no, definitely. I met with the Mission a couple weeks ago, and they had talked about when the school was previously open, that was always sort of a juncture of worry whenever children were getting out to go to schools. And so they wanted to know the same thing in terms of how would we be able to make sure that the children are safe, or any pedestrian in that area, because our goal is to not increase parking in any way too. So that's definitely something that's high on our priority list to ensure we address.
Yes, and even at River School, like from the River School area, going by Mission Ranch.
Specifically at that point you were talking about, that curve is dangerous.
Exactly.
And so we want to make sure that it's safe.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I guess I'm last, and I would just say great presentation. Thank you, and my fingers are crossed for this project.
Thank you.
All righty. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right, why don't we go to public appearance items?
Ken wants to say one more.
No.
Thanks for putting up with this, and it's a joy to hear the positive comments. I was on the council with Mayor Grace, and we bought the Hodges property, which we're talking about, and it was for open space and low impact use. That's exactly what we're talking about now. Number two, we're not asking the city to do any administrative work or cost. We're asking the city to give us a chance to take the property, do exactly what it was meant to be used for in the first place, and we'll stand the cost. COD is funding the administrative part. Thank you.
Thank you again. Appreciate the clarification. All right, why don't we go to public appearance items? This is an opportunity for any member of the public to comment on an item that is not on tonight's agenda. 3-minute limitation on the testimony. State your name for the record. I appreciate it. Anybody with a wishing desire to speak tonight? Yeah, maybe we'll warm out. Andy, are you trying to speak? Okay.
Is Javier still here? Yeah. So I want to commend Javier. He was in charge of the project, what's the terminology, on San Antonio to fix the fence and the, what is it? The pedestrian pathway. It could have been a real disaster. They set it up very nicely. It's signed appropriately. It's great. It's moving along. My question is, I'm concerned why, or if we've even gotten Pebble Beach involved in sharing the expense of this. So this was done as a joint project with Pebble Beach back in 2010, I think they said, for the US Open. And so they shared in the project then. They wanted the project. They picked the company that did the project. It's failed, and that's why at this point it needs to be redone. So my question is, has anyone contacted Pebble Beach? Who did we deal with originally that perhaps we can deal with now? And who is the person that should be speaking to the appropriate person in Pebble Beach?
Thank you, Andy. Appreciate that.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah. Take those questions under submission.
What?
We'll take those questions under submission.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Is there anybody else wishing to speak tonight? Okay, seeing no one. Is there anybody on Zoom?
There's no hands raised.
Okay, I'm going to warm out. Okay, well, why don't we take a quick bio break here? We'll come back in 10 minutes, okay? Come back at 6:30. Thank you. We're back. All righty. So why don't we move on then to announcements? City Administrator announcements. Excuse me. Can we have quiet, please? First Lady, quiet. Janine, quiet.
I think you need to pound some more.
Quiet. Janine. Okay. City Administrator's report.
Yeah, just thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have like 35 minutes of comments, so just when we get started. I do have two announcements in there. Unfortunately, both sad news. We lost two retired members of the city family in the last month. Esther Pardito, you may have talked to her on the phone. She was a dispatcher with the city for 26 years, I believe, Chief. And the Pinecone had a very nice obituary for her, so you can take a look at last Thursday's Pinecone. And then John Hansen died just a few days ago. John was a maintenance worker. He became the building official. He was a reserve police officer, I believe. Wow. He also served in the Army National Guard after 9/11. And so our thoughts go out to both Esther and John's families during this time. And Mayor, I know that Mr. Richards is going to also suggest that we close the meeting. Another unfortunate death in the community, but perhaps we could close today's meeting in the memory in part on John and Esther, please.
Absolutely. Bobby, do you want to go ahead and move on?
Okay, well, you know, it's an honor to say what I'm going to say, but it's real sad, and it's a sad moment for me, but it's a very sad moment for our community. There was a young man, not young man, I knew him when he was a young man, I met him in high school, but Brent Bispo, he was a former captain of the fire brigade in Big Sur. He was one of our probably most recognized surfers that ever came out of this community. And he started, I just have a couple of things. He started the volunteer water rescue program for the Central Coast. And so over the past 30 years or so, he's been helping train people how to do water rescues and this sort of thing. He has won the Surfabout several times. I don't know, 5 or 6 times he's won the Surfabout. And he was killed yesterday in Big Sur, and it's just a tragic moment for our community, for our surf community, both from Big Sur all the way to Pacific Grove in Monterey. I went to high school with him in Pacific Grove, and so I would like to also close this meeting out in honor of Brent Bispo. Monterey Fire reached out to me and said, please give all the respect that they possibly could muster for this man. And so Brent Bispo, this meeting's for you.
Thank you, Bobby. Are there any other council member comments?
I've got two very, very brief ones, Mayor. Thank you. So when we had a Veterans Day ceremony planned, and unfortunately we had some bad weather that day, and the city made the decision to cancel it. And I've just heard from a few members of the community who are veterans and who were just a little bit concerned that there was communication by email, but not everyone signed up for the email, and there was not a sign in Devondor Park. So I have talked with Chip about that, and we will certainly improve the communication if there is an event like that needs to be canceled, and make sure that everyone has a way of knowing. And my second item, just a reminder to everyone that Monday the 9th, right here in City Hall, we'll be swearing in the new members of the youth city council. Thank you.
Thank you, Alessandra. Karen.
Just a brief, I had the pleasure of attending Jersey Boys the other night at the remodeled Pac Rep Theater, and I encourage all of you to go if you haven't. It was a marvelous, very professional play and fun, and the theater is absolutely beautiful. And I just encourage you to support them. There was a problem with ticket sales that was, some ticket scales were actually fake, and people paid hundreds and hundreds of dollars for them and got there and found out they didn't actually have tickets. So I would encourage you to buy them directly from Pac Rep. But let's support this beautiful theater renovation. It's just marvelous that in a small town like this we have a facility like that. So thank you.
Thank you. Brian, we skipped over you right here.
Yeah, I have no announcements today.
Yeah, thank you. All righty, well, they don't have any, so let's move on then. Let's go on to the consent calendar. There's 2 items on the
Just a
consent
moment.
calendar.
There's ad hoc committee.
Oh, I'm sorry, ad
report
hoc
out.
committees, yes.
I'm sorry. I'm going to say a couple of things because the ad hoc committees that I was on, I assume, are going away. And I'd like to thank Bobby, especially for working directly with me on the housing committee, and Marnie Waffle and the EMC consultants. You know, this was quite a challenge to come up with a certified plan on time. Someone wrote me a letter, not a very nice letter, accusing us of letting the dates slip and lapse and a builder's remedy, and I want to inform them that that is in the county, not in the city. We saved the city from any threat of builder's remedy. And working with Bobby was great. He came up with creative ideas from the hospitality experience that he had, but I really want to tell you how much I appreciated Marnie Waffle's work. It was tireless. She spent nights here after everyone went home working on that. And she did an exemplary job, and she did that all the while continuing to have her project that she does for planning on her table as well. So she just was a real trooper, and I appreciated that. The other ad hoc committee I was on was addresses, and you know, that was a real fun one too. Emily Garay was the staff member on that, and I can't say enough about Emily's work and the report that she prepared, which we were supposed to hear in September. We did not get to hear that report, and it is available if any of you are interested in reading her report about addresses. It is months and months and months of research and work, and I think that our staff has performed so well in our ad hoc committee meetings, so I just wanted to make sure to thank them, and I also thank Chief Tomasi and Chief Miller for their support and assistance when we were working on that, and we didn't get it across the finish line, but it's not going away, and I think it will be back sometime in the future, and hopefully we will see be able to see that research that was done. I also, Brian Pierrick's staff had prepared quite a nice report on that too, that we also did not hear that night, but it is available in written form. It was about a 40-page report that night. So I encourage you to make yourself familiar with it because it has a lot of information in there. And I enjoyed, believe it or not, I enjoyed working on both of those ad hoc committees because those are weighty subjects for our community. Now, as far as the housing, I hope that the AHA group, we're going to hear from them later today, has some good news for us. But it really comes down to we need to provide affordable housing in this community. It does not exist at this point, and it is important. Thank you.
Karen, I'd just like to back you up on your comments earlier about the importance of staff. You know, you've been really supportive of them, and I am too. I think we can't get anything done around here without a good staff, and so I want to thank them for their hard work over the years. Very well said. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've done ad hocs. Anybody else?
I just have one sentence. The Flock Ad Hoc Committee, it looks like we're going to be doing a council meeting in February, or it'll be part of an item on the council agenda. Excuse me. Sorry, I didn't say that very clearly. That's it.
Good. All righty, why don't we then move on then to the first item on the consent
Mr. Mayor,
calendar.
real quickly, Mrs. Givens, which is item number 7, has
yes, I'm sorry.
requested to continue that encroachment permit application until January, please.
Okay, so would you like a motion then from council to go ahead and move it to a date specific?
That'd be great.
Okay, why don't we get that? I'll move the motion and we move the consideration of the partial permanent encroachment permit Givens 23-077 to the first meeting in January.
I'll second that.
January, so that would be, sorry. So that would be the council meeting on January 14th?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Okay, we have a motion of a second. Would you call a roll, please?
Councilmember Barron?
Yes.
Councilmember Jerma?
Yes.
Councilmember Ferlito?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Richards?
Yes.
Mayor Potter?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Appreciate that too. Thank you for the consideration of agenda management. Thank you, nice of you. All right, so let's move on then to consent calendar. We have 2 items on the consent calendar. Is anybody in the public wishing to pull an item from the consent calendar? Anybody on council?
Yes, I'd like to pull number 1 just for comment.
All right, well, we're going to get your comment out of the way then.
Okay, my comment is that this process that we went through about AB 413, the daylighting, people were very, very concerned about losing parking places, and I think Chief Tomasi did an admirable job of figuring out how to create loading zones in some of those areas, in commercial loading zones. My comment is that I think this is something that should be reviewed perhaps every year to see if it's actually working the way it's supposed to. And if some of the commercial zones are abused, maybe they'll have to be changed to other things. But I just think, you know, an ongoing kind of look at what's working and what isn't working would be prudent.
Okay. Any other comments? So do we want to consider that as an amendment or just under general direction?
Just general
Okay,
direction.
good. Okay, appreciate it. All right, so we're going to get a motion to approve the consent calendar as submitted.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion second. Any other discussion? Nova, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Barron?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermov?
Yes.
Councilmember Ferlito?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Richards?
Yes.
Mayor Potter?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, then moving on to orders of business, Resolution 2024-095, authorizing the mayor to execute a 7th amendment to the city administrator's at-will employment agreement effective October 1, 2024.
Yeah, I'll be presenting on that item,
Thank you,
Mayor.
appreciate that.
Certainly. As you've indicated, this item is a consideration of a 7th amendment to the employment agreement with Chip Breerig, city administrator. The current salary of the city administrator is $241,087. The proposal is for a merit increase of 4%. The dollar value of that would be $9,643, so that the total base salary that's proposed by the 7th Amendment would be the $241,087 plus $9,643 to get a total of $250,730. The recommended action is to a motion to adopt the resolution 2024-095 that would authorize the mayor to execute the 7th Amendment to the employment agreement. And I'm available if there's any questions.
Anybody in the public wishing to speak to this item? Anybody on the council?
There's a hand raised on Zoom.
Okay, yes, who was it?
Phone number?
705. Zoom.
Phone number 705. Go ahead.
Yes, did we miss public comment?
No, this is a comment on the resolution of the authorization of a pay increase for the general manager.
Yes, but you've missed public comment.
Okay, go ahead.
So I can do that now?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, thank you so much. I just want to say to Mr. Potter that I think the reason you lost your election was in great part because of the surf project.
Yeah, Mayor, this is not related to the agenda item.
I'm sorry, no, she's wanted to public comment. She wanted
Hello?
to put a public comment. I'm letting you go.
Okay.
Go ahead. No, you can go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, you're fine. I'm sorry. The city attorney just interrupted. You can go ahead and finish your thoughts. Let's try.
Yes, so, because people deeply care about mass transit, and we deeply care and are very afraid of global warming, and so should you be. And it seems our politicians are not going that way. You're cutting down trees like crazy. Especially the eucalyptus trees that are fire breaks and wind breaks and are the last trees to burn at Angel Island when the oaks and everything else did. And politicians, you need to be our heroes. because you are the ones that are going to make the difference and bringing back the train and mass transit. We're not going to make it on these electrical vehicles and everyone driving. It's not going to happen. And there's going to be ocean mining with this and terrible minings all over the world to accommodate these batteries. So you've been, hesitant for 10 years on bringing back the train, and now you're covering up the tracks. Mr. Potter, you could have done so much better, and I think that's why you lost your election. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate it. Okay, anybody else? Okay, that's it. Okay, let's go back to the item that we were dealing with, which is the city manager's request, or the executive decision to go ahead and increase his pay by $9,000. Do we have any questions or concerns? Jeff, you want to say something?
I have some comments.
Okay, comments.
So I'd like to thank Chip for the work that he's put in over the course of the past year, and I think that what a lot of the public sees is sort of Chip's managing of the staff. The things that happen in public works and the police department and planning and all that stuff. And obviously, if any of you, and I know a lot of you have spoken to Chip and you have heard him, opine at length on a lot of these subjects before, but a couple of things that you don't see. First are the work that he does, the work that he does in his role as sort of the CEO of interfacing with outside organizations. I see Susan Prest. I see Susan Prest here. I see Dale here. I don't see anybody from Visit Carmel or the Chamber of Commerce, and the work that he does with the city managers, learning from all the other city managers in Monterey County. Those are huge impacts on his time. And also the work that he does sort of taking instructions from the five of us, sort of all separately or sort of as a council. We all obviously, and this is said a little bit in jest, we all talk to one another. We all have coffee with one another, and we all grouse about how much attention Chip is giving to that council member over there. And I think that when especially the mayor, you'll hear that too, about how much deference Chip gives to you as opposed to the rest of us. And I think that that's a sign that he's doing it right. We all grouse a little bit, but not too much. So you do a good job of, as you say, managing, being bossed around by the council, not by the five of us, not by the five of us individually. So thank you for all of your work.
I'll go next, and I would just say thank you, Chip, for all your help that you've given me over the past 9 years. You've been a rock for me. You've been a sounding board for me. You've been great, so I really appreciate it. This is a deserved raise. And also, I think one thing that also needs to be mentioned is our constant zero errors in our audit. I think that's a big deal that we should always celebrate. When Chip came on, we had a lot of audits, or we had audits with a lot of errors, and I don't know, 6-7 years in a row now, we've had zero errors in our audits, and I think that's something that we should all be really proud of that Chip has done.
And I'd just like to say, we all have to remember and not have amnesia about the fact that Chip has served us for many difficult years. Starting with the pandemic was a very difficult time. People were dealing with making the decisions they thought at the time would be wise to keep our communities safe. Also, I do want to remind people that Chip did not get a raise last year, so I think this raise is well-deserved. And I have very much enjoyed working with Chip over the many years. The first time when he was at in the planning department, and then when he returned. I'd also like the community to understand what it's like when you lose a valued employee and you have difficulty hiring another one, and you have to make adjustments within your departments to have people take over temporarily and manage those people and bring them along. And it has not been easy. And, we are, in this last couple years, we have lost several employees that we're working on replacing, but Chip has managed to keep the ship afloat, and move people around where they needed to be, and I appreciate that. And I think one of the things that I also value is that I think you do your best to get the best out of our employees and our staff, and you spend time with them, and I think that that's really admirable, and I will miss you. I will have to take all those updates off my calendar. But thank you. Thank you
Chip, very much.
I
will miss you too. You and I have been around together for quite a few years over the course of the decades. I appreciate all your hard work. You conducted the performance evaluation of you. You were viewed as highly competent in both the administrative relationship with council, also the leadership and administration, highly competent. Very well done. I want to thank you for your hard work and dedication. Keep it up. Don't give up. Stick it out. Okay.
I've just got a quick addition also. I just appreciate that you're on duty basically almost 24/7, and anytime that there's a storm or an incident that happens, that you do keep us informed and up to date on what's happening, and I know it can often be a thankless job, so thank you.
Well done. Okay, do we have a motion?
I move.
I'll second. Okay, all those in favor? Nova, could you give a roll call?
Councilmember Barron?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermall?
Yes.
Councilmember Ferlito?
Enthusiastically, yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Richards?
Yes.
Mayor Potter?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Excellent. Okay, so now we got to go ahead and deal with item number 2, which is Resolution 2024-098, authorizing the city administrator to execute a construction contract with Coastal Paving and Engineering Inc. in an amount including the contingencies of $1,285,185. Projects 1, 2, and 3 in the drainage system repair project. Bob.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. Let's pull this up on the screen in just a second.
Steve, can you show the presentation item?
Thank you, Nova. Okay, when we talk about drainage projects, the first thing we need to do is look at our storm drain master plan update that was completed last year, 2023. What I did on this map is highlight with bright yellow triangles the 4 drainage projects that's wrapped up in this project. So I'm going to go from, I guess, clockwise, going from project number 1. This is located along 11th Avenue between Carmelo and San Antonio. It's a red line, a line shown in red, which is a high priority. Number 2 on the left is along Lincoln Street between 1st and 2nd Avenues, and along 2nd Avenue between Lincoln and Monteverdi. The third one is up at the top of the screen. It's on Santa Fe from 8th Avenue South, discharging into the Mission Trail Nature Preserve Creek. And then you'll see 4 is a blue dot. It's a nuisance location. It's a nuisance problem, but it's not a red line of a high priority like the others shown in this master plan. I'll talk more about that in a second. Okay, this is just the table of the projects we just looked at. So projects 1, 2, and 3. The problem there is potential flooding, not just in the street, but residential properties adjacent to that. For example, on Lincoln Street, we do have a potential claim, potential litigation on potential damage of flooding damage to private property. The Storm Drain Master Plan update ranked the first 3 projects as high priority. Project 1 discharges into the ocean when it's complete. The second project will discharge into Pescadero Canyon. The third will discharge into Mission Trail Nature Preserve Creek. And jumping down to the 4th project, it's unlike the others, it's not a pipe or series of pipes. It's really improving a head wall and doing some grading. And this would address a nuisance water problem, but not a potential flooding problem. It was not listed in the Storm Drain Master Plan, and it would discharge into a private pipe. Okay, so project overview. The design was completed for all 4 projects by Neal Engineers. Environmental notices of exemption were completed for projects 2 and 3 by our environmental on-call firm, Denise Duffy and Associates. Project management was performed by staff. We compiled the bid documents so that the base bid would be for projects 1, 2, and 3. Those are the high priority in the master plan. And we had an additive bid for project number 4, the Acacia Way head wall. That way we could have council award all 4 or the first 3 and not award project 4. We received 3 responsive bids at the September 5th bid opening. Coastal Paving and Excavating from Monterey submitted the lowest base bid of $1,168,000, about 3% over the engineer's estimate and 2% below the next bidder, which in my opinion shows that it was very good competitive bids. There was a bid additive for $48,000 for the Acacia head wall, which was double the engineer's estimate. A 10% contingency is recommended because this is mostly all underground work, and the 10% contingency would be $116,835. So the total construction contract based on the base bid, projects 1, 2, and 3, would be $1,285,185. And once we get started, weather permitting will be complete in about 3 months. Now let's focus on the Acacia head wall. So staff reviewed the 1983 improvement plans and the 1984 parcel map, which developed the private property along Acacia Way, which is a private driveway, private roadway. We are determined that it was really inconclusive if the city has the right to build the head wall that we designed. Okay? More concerning, though, is that the private drainage pipe that's on private property had no known plans and no permit. We questioned the design because the downstream part of the pipe is a smaller diameter than the upstream part. That's a little unconventional. The natural topography of the site has always resulted in drainage flowing southerly down into the ravine south of the development. And in a 1998 letter, which is in your attachment, the then Public Works Director noted that the city has no obligation to change the natural drainage route nor maintain any drainage structure south of Flanders Way. So that's not regarding the private pipe. Again, it's not a high priority potential flooding issue. It's a nuisance area. And if we do go with the project number 4, which we could, council can award that at this time if you wish to do so, it would channel more flow into that private pipe, potentially increasing the potential for clogs or ongoing maintenance problems. Recapping the costs, so we had, going forward for this fiscal year, we have Neil Engineers and Denise Stuffy for technical support during construction, the contractor, the construction cost, and the 10% contingency. So the total project cost is $1,297,585. So the funding is from 2 sources. One is both in the CIP. So the CIP for this project in this fiscal year was $1,218,000. So we had a good guess, but we are a little shy. So we're tapping into the CIP contingency fund. If you recall, for this fiscal year, council approved a $400,000 contingency. We need $79,585 there. It would still leave $292,000 in the contingency fund for any future projects. And with that, staff has recommended that the council adopts the resolution, which would award this construction contract to Coastal Paving and Excavating with a 10% contingency of $1,285,000 for projects 1, 2, and 3 only, and not for project number 4. Be happy to answer any questions.
Bob, if I might, so project number 4 would make the city liable if we did that?
Yes.
So, I mean, obviously, there's going to be increasing more flow into private pipes, increasing potential for clogs, maintenance problems. We'd be responsible for that then.
The property owner is responsible. However, the city has always been there to help, and we will continue to help. We put, like last year, we put sandbags. We cleared out a clog, I believe, last spring. We had a couple of years ago, we had I think it was a basketball that was clogged in there. So we've had problems with that very same pipe, and the city is always, Public Works, always ready to help any private property to accommodate drainage problems. But it's the responsibility, the legal responsibility of maintaining that pipeline is the property owners.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions of Bob at this time by council members? Open up to the public. Is there anybody in the public wishing to comment on this item at this time?
I don't know how many of you know, I've been in about a 3-year conversation with the rest of my neighbors and the staff on this matter. I'm afraid you've gotten some misleading information this evening. I'm not It's, I'm sure, inadvertent. The issue is not about the pipe. The issue is, I'm not sure why we're quoting quarter-century-old letters, but a quarter-century ago, the Public Works Director apparently said that the city doesn't want to interfere with the natural flow and has no say-so or obligation to deal with a natural flow down a hill. However, in the 25 years that ensued since that letter, the city did change the natural flow of the water. They bermed, and I'm not criticizing this at all. Our neighborhood is not criticizing that. To protect private property, the city bermed all the streets uphill from our private street, sending a torrent of water down onto our private street, overwhelming the pipe, which has been broken, ruptured, and exploded into a 6-foot-high geyser. That was repaired by the city. They also cleared the pipe, as you just heard, because of the excess water flow that has increased in the last, how many years it's been since the berms were completed on that drainage path. So the promise that they made 25 years ago that they would not interfere, or they were not obliged to interfere with any natural flow, has been broken. Again, not a complaint, but what has happened is the roadway that we count on, that we maintain, that gives emergency access to the several elderly folks that live on this road and the infirm, has been undermined to the left-hand side as you're facing uphill because of this excess water flow. We want to maintain the road, but we cannot maintain the road when the water has increased to this level that it will always destroy and undermine the road. I do not know why, and Dave Potter, Mayor Potter, to your point, the city engineer told me personally he has no understanding as why he was commissioned a wall to deal with the entrance of the pipe. This has nothing to do with this pipe. So we're in a weird situation where I've been kind of playing referee for the neighborhood who would like to come after the city for the damage it has done to the property that we are supposed to maintain. And I've said, no, they will do the right thing. They will figure out that the water flow increase is not our responsibility, but is the city's responsibility, which I'm sure there's no disputing, and that if they want to use the ravine that's to the downhill side of us, that they need to continue the project of berming the uphill all the way down into the place that it's meant to be received, which is the creek. Instead of stopping the project right for the private road part, which is now destroying our road. So if we maintain it, it will be destroyed the next year. You've put a burden, not you, the city has put an unintentional, inadvertent, these are unintentional consequences of an uphill project. As it relates to your decision tonight, I would agree with Mayor Potter that this wall is not part of the solution. That's what the city engineer said. That's what I say as also someone in construction. That's what you say, someone in construction. But there has to be a solution. And just one last point. You're about to undertake about $1 million project that is exactly to solve this problem. From a economies of scale, project management standpoint, it would be foolish, in my opinion, and the opinion of my neighbors, to not tack on the completion of the drainage thing. So I urge you to have the engineer, Neil Engineers, look at this again for a real solution so that we can maintain our property properly and not be undermined constantly by this incomplete project by the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Victoria. Next speaker.
Council, Donna Costigan, Lincoln, between first and second. I wrote down my comments in fear of a lengthy public commentary, so I'm glad I did. I'm going to read them. Each year, the city continues to make drainage improvements. We see more asphalt, curbing, pipes, sandbags, and debris clearing. Drainage improvements visibly direct the flow of storm water, but they often utilize non-permeable surfaces like pipes and asphalt. These improvements not only modify directional flow, but it also concentrates the water and increases the volume and velocity of the stormwater flow. You may be wondering why I'm here. Well, because my home is on the receiving end of a long and winding path of municipal stormwater drainage and one of your pipes. For at least a decade, longer with prior owners, but we've owned the property for a decade, our property has been tortured with municipal drainage. We have endured financial hardship, property damage, mental anguish, and many sleepless nights. Evidence has been provided, and we have exhausted productivity of meetings and communications with municipal officials. In 2023, we filed a formal claim against the city and the county. Municipal funds have been reserved and separated from operational funds regarding this claim. A tolling agreement has been agreed to with the city and the county. Now, I urge you to do the right thing and approve the prioritization, we are number 2, of the proposed project, and finally, do the construction that's needed. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Anybody else wishing to speak this item tonight?
I'm just going to support my neighborhood real quick. I'm Kathy Stokes. In 2017, I was on the receiving end of all the erosion that they suffered from their property. I came out that morning after a big storm in February of 2017. God, the adrenaline is coursing here. But I came out and I saw, that's how I met you, come think of it. I met them when they come down, because we only had been there, lived there a little bit, but they came down to check out what had happened to our property. I'm at Monteverde and 2nd, and what happened that day with the water that came down the hill, backed up completely behind my garage. It came over a retaining wall. It flooded the entire side of my house, wiped out my landscaping. I live on a little private road. Monteverde and 2nd is technically a dead end. We have a little private drive there that we are supposed to maintain. There was so much debris on that road. It flowed over the vacant lot across the street. It was a mess. I can't, Rob Calder is not here, but Mr. Rarick came to the home, Mary Adams came to our house, they assessed the situation. We were told, the city knew about this problem for years, and they had a fix. They talked about digging up Lincoln and directing all that water down to keeping it in the city, not in the county, and taking it up to Pescadero Canyon. There's evidence behind my house of an old, rusted-out, collapsed metal culvert. That same culvert ran under my garage for years. The house was built in '59. I think that culvert in my title report was 1945. So anyway, we have a water problem, and like Donna, I sure hope we don't have to wait any longer to get this fixed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it. Anybody else wishing to testify tonight? Do we have anybody on Zoom?
There's no hands raised.
Okay, so why don't we bring this back to council? I'm certainly supportive of the 3 of them. I'd like to see the 4th one, though, get some consideration along the way here. I'm not sure how to go ahead and do that, but I'd like to go ahead and make sure we can get it prioritized to being something we can look to in the future.
My suggestion, Mr. Mayor, would be to have Public Works with our design engineers look at what it would take to resize the pipe. So what Bob is saying is the head wall, the head wall is where the water goes into the pipe. Yep. How much it would cost to...
Excuse me, can you describe, it's been a couple months since I've been down there. Can you describe, so I'm kind of familiar with what Acacia Way does when it leaves the bottom of Flanders. So if I'm standing on the corner of Viscano and Flanders and I walk down Acacia Way.
Yes, sir.
Where is this pipe and this culvert?
The head wall, if you're walking down Acacia Way, the head wall is on your right side, which would be the west side of the street. And then
How far down?
Pardon me?
How far?
It's right at the corner of Viscano and Acacia.
So right by the Schallenberger's house?
It's one of the red properties, barn-like properties.
Okay.
And then so the design was to catch the additional water from the episodic storms that we have. And what the design engineer said is that the pipe that the head wall goes into is undersized, so it would be overwhelmed. And what Ms. Beach is talking about is the same side of the street where the head wall is, and adjacent to the pipe is where their private road gets eroded. So, a solution set, which is, to increase the size of the head wall so it catches more water, so it doesn't run down, it doesn't surface flow across the street, but also increase the size of the pipe so it can take the additional volume. So if that's your suggestion, we'll add it back onto the list to look at and do some more design work. I would not discourage you, I would encourage you to approve what the three projects that we have here, but we can add it back onto the list to see what it would cost to increase the pipe size. And if it is a private pipe, as the city attorney has determined, then maybe we can work cooperatively with the adjacent private property owners to share the cost of the additional work.
Yeah, I think yeah, it would be that sounds okay to me. I guess I've gotten a little bit distracted because I'm thinking about, the city over the course of the past, and it's pretty noticeable over the course of the past 10 years, has been doing what Victoria described, which is installing berms. And on my street and all the streets where I am, and especially, and I'm thinking about Lincoln. So Lincoln between Lincoln between like 3rd and 2nd, the whole western end, which is the downside of the street, is bermed. And so as a result, all that water, all the rain that falls on Lincoln, that should just be absorbed by the property on the south side of Lincoln. Like it's not a lot of rain. It's like a 10-foot wide strip of pavement, so it's not a lot of rain. That rain is instead directed towards the downhill side. And so these berms, like on these pieces, on that, such as Lincoln, for example, those berms do what Victoria is describing. They create. It's easy to imagine that these berms that we are so fond of installing now and getting rid of our informal, as I think Karen has described this, or I think even Victoria has described this, the informal edge of our streets are now bermed everywhere. And so as a result, the water that would be going on private property, it would be easily absorbed by private property in most cases, is instead directed to the place where our drainage system fails.
And I totally agree with you.
So why are we, and I don't mean this as I did just give you a raise, and I don't mean this as a criticism. But why do we do this? Like, why is it a policy to install all these berms? Because like everywhere we pave, we install berm.
The adjacent private property owners say, your city water is washing out my landscaping or my wood chips or my DG or my landscaping.
But we're all in this together. I mean, it's not,
I agree.
And that 40-foot wide, like our lots are 40-foot wide generally, so that 40-foot wide, like, the person on the downhill, someone would argue that the person on the downhill side of that mostly level, and I'm not talking about roads that are like this, I'm talking about roads that are like this that slant a little bit. The person on the downhill side should be able to manage the water as long as the person next to them isn't directing their water to them as well.
I'm glad you're staying on city council, sir, because I think maybe there's a good policy discussion that we can have regarding these, because you're all exactly right. We add the berms and we're basically channelizing the water on the asphalt.
Chip, when did we first start? And I think this is coming in Bob's presentation, but we didn't even have a drainage plan until what, 8 years ago or something?
Less than that, but
so water just flowed all over this town every which way. So we've come into the next century with actually a drainage plan, which this is part of attacking that and correcting things. But there are just some serious areas. I mean, everything in Carmel drains either to the ocean or to Mission Trail. And Pescadero. So it drains to 3 places primarily. And I drive around in rainstorms because I think it's kind of exciting to see what's happening, and I want to be aware of it. And the streets that have the berms, the water does seem to rush down faster. And I always thought that the berms were starting to happen to save the pavement for the water going under and undermining the road pavement.
It does that as well.
But it did sort of seem like all of a sudden we were getting berms all over town, and we used to have informal edges to the road that you could drive over and park on your public right-of-way. So, you know, was it actually that people were requesting berms?
Yes, ma'am.
Or was it a decision we're always
ma'am.
going to put a berm?
No, we get dozens of requests, and they usually are during or following a storm season.
Well, and I have seen a proliferation of sandbags everywhere when the house is built lower than the street, which is along Mission. There's quite a bit of that right now.
Yeah, I did have one lady at like 11th and Monteverde who actually removed her berm after we put it in because she had a low-riding car, but she didn't like her berm.
All right, well, so we got direction on this.
I have another question.
Go ahead.
So I know on last year's CIP, we omitted the drainage project. We decided to collectively take a year off. Is this the last drainage project that is on the radar for the time being that's had money allocated to it, or is there another one coming given the absence?
I thank you for the question, Councilmember Barron. I think you're referring to the Junipero bypass pipeline. It's a $3 million project from the design.
So that's the next thing that's up.
That's the next big thing, right?
But we have not funded that yet.
Correct.
No, so this is it until that. This is it until that happens.
Yeah, I met with Councilmember-elect Delves today, and he actually has read the entire pavement condition index master plan. Bob, you'll be very proud. But you know, these are the documents, and you know, we defend them because they act as a recipe for what we should do next. They're not just plans we stick on the shelf, and they help inform the CIP, but they also provide good information about what our infrastructure exposure is from the financial standpoint, and there's a liability standpoint in some cases as well. So we do not have the money yet for the bypass, the Lincoln bypass project, which is a lot of money. So we'll see what we can come up with.
I've got a question. I do support the 3 projects, but I also support finding a way that we finally get a solution to this Acacia Way. Chip, how quickly could you and representatives from that neighborhood, you know, and other city members work with them to come up with a solution?
It probably would not be this storm season, so I would. I don't know the answer to that. I'm so sorry.
Is there anything in the interim that you could do to just help prevent?
Well, what we would do is we would do as we've done in the past, which is to create a wider catch, you know, a head wall using sandbags. So again, we're trying to channel more of that water into the pipe, which is again is undersized, but to prevent the erosion that Ms. Beach talked about on the west side of their.
But that doesn't work if. I mean, you can create all the head wall you want, but if the pipe isn't big enough for the flow of water that's coming down during a storm, it's going to jump. It's going to jump whatever you put there eventually.
I mean, the other thing we could do is we could add sandbags so it spreads storm water over the entire width of the street, their private street, to kind of spread it out.
Okay, well, maybe the city can just reach out and see what can be done, at least in the interim, and then we can actually tackle it as a solution.
Suggestion.
Thanks.
Thank you.
One thing, though, that the city has to be aware of, and it's been mentioned, is this is a private driveway and a private pipe. So it seems like the residents that live there and put that pipe in and together, and some of them aren't probably there anymore, but they should be part of the solution. And it was my understanding that at one time, the residents had all worked together and had come up with a solution, and something put a wrench in the plan. This was years and years ago. But I mean, I lived on a very long 8,000 square foot private driveway too. Fortunately, mine is flat and doesn't have that any city water draining onto it. But there are some sticky points all over this town that, you know, I believe in cooperating with the residents there to solve this because it is a problem. But taking it on as a city project is another step that has to be, I think, negotiated.
And, you know, maybe again, we do the research and the design work, and then we approach the neighborhood about what the cost would be and whether there's a cost-sharing opportunity. That'd be my suggestion.
That would be deliberated at the next one. For right now, we have these projects.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
Yeah, no, all I would say, one second up, please. All I would say is that I would be okay with the money. Like, the money to me is not, you know, from where I said the money is less of an issue than the risk. And, you know, we've talked, you know, we heard about the pipe being clogged, and, you know, it's easy to imagine that there would be more damage if the pipe is clogged. And so I'm okay with the city spending the money to sort of fix the problem, but not okay with the risk that it might backfire on us. So I would like to see the city, I would like to see, you know, if the city's going to fix a problem on private property, if it comes to that, I would like to see the city protected.
Yeah, we'll work with Mr.
From whatever happens, you know, if that fails
we'll build a
downstream.
fairly good case for our exposure tonight, so yes, probably a good idea.
That's very thoughtful.
Okay. All right, so we...
Could you make an exception? I just have a couple pieces of information that might help.
All right, go ahead. On the mic.
So sorry, I just, I wanted to find out what your schedule is for the big project, because as I mentioned, economies of scales can be our friend for the budget. But I also, I'm not sure that as an architect speaking now, and as someone who's spoken to the city, former city engineer about this, I'm not sure the solution will be the pipe. And so I applaud the suggestion by the city administrator to have a design session to figure out how to solve the problem. Then we can talk about, you know, whose land it's on and et cetera. So I would, my suggestion is, do as Chip Rerig suggested, do it soon enough so that if it can be incorporated into another budget item, it saves us all taxpayer money. And I'm just, as a designer, I'm not sure that it's going to end up being a pipe replacement.
So perhaps some other channelization of the runoff water.
Exactly.
Okay, good, I get it.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. Surface channelization. Okay, good. So we've got enough discussion around this topic. I think we can go ahead and make a motion to move 1, 2, and 3 with direction as articulated on number 4.
Second.
Yeah. Nova.
Yeah. Councilmember Barron?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermall?
Yes.
Councilmember Ferlito?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Richards?
Yes.
Mayor Potter?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item is receive a report regarding the Public Works Department's service key accomplishments over the past 7 years in the 2024 infrastructure report card. Bob?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to introduce this item. I want to thank Bob. I helped hire Bob in Monterey, and then he called me really impromptu when our last Public Works director left and said, "Can I have a job?" And he was kind of joking. And I said, let's apply. And I think we've been really good partners. Bob's story is, you know, he graduated from university on a Friday, got married on a Saturday, and started work as a civil engineer on Monday. And he's got a litany of experience, and he's done a really good job for us over the past 7 years. And I will miss not just your quirk of humor, but your can-do attitude. Because of the hour, I've asked Bob to try to make this less than a 20-minute presentation, but I want to assure everyone that the slides will be available. We'll put them in the Friday letter, we'll put them on the website, and then I encourage the new council members to review the slides with Bob and I, and Brandon, whoever, and Mary, and Javier in the next couple of weeks, because again, they really do serve as a recipe for what's to come, as well as really celebrating in a very good way the work that his fine staff has done to date. So thank you, Bob. Thank you for your service. And for those of you who don't know, Bob's retiring in just a few weeks here. So Godspeed. Thank you.
And Chip, I'd just like to make a comment. I don't really want to rush him too much to this, because there's a lot of meat in this that we should all hear. And just having it available is one thing, but I think there's just tremendous things in here to celebrate, and so I don't want to rush him into a 5 minutes.
All right, let's get started. Okay, thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. Okay, so the objectives are threefold: review the department structure, resources, and services. Again, it's the current council well knows this, but hopefully the new council coming in, I'll get a better overview. The same presentation will be given next week to the Forest and Beach Commission. So I'll try to get the word out of what Public Works is all about. Also review significant as well as diverse accomplishments over the past 7 years since I've been here. And probably most importantly is the infrastructure report card. So we're going to pair 6 different areas of infrastructure from the baseline year when I first introduced it in 2017 to where I believe we are today in 2024. Here's the Public Works team on the left, and you'll see our brand new dump truck, so we're celebrating that. On the right is our mascot, Bruce Lee. There goes. Okay, so the organization is set up so we have the director / administrative unit. We have 5 operating divisions: environmental, facility maintenance, forestry, parks and beach, project management, and streets. So we're going to briefly go through all 5 of those divisions, what they do, and the accomplishments from each group. If trying to compare the resources we had in fiscal year 2018 and 19, we had a $3.3 million operating budget, a $4.3 million CIP budget, and 21 positions. This current fiscal year, our operating budget just about doubled to $6.5 million. CIP almost tripled to $12.2 million, and we have 25 full-time equivalent positions, although we do have some vacancies. So I seriously wanted to thank Council for providing us the resources that we need to get our job done. And hopefully this presentation will demonstrate what we've achieved with those resources. Okay, first, briefly talk about Public Works Administrative Unit. These are the tasks that we do typically. I'll just highlight a few of them. Prepare the annual and 5-year capital improvement plan, work on budgeting and financials, council reports and presentations like I'm doing now. I supported the Forest and Beach Commission over the years and served on the TAC and traffic safety committees. Some accomplishments in administration is we returned the city engineer duties in-house, which I would strongly encourage you to continue to do so. Council strategic priorities have been updated. At one point we had, Public Works was tracking 11 council strategic priorities. Guided the leadership Carmel legacy projects. One was in Forest Hill Park, Nature Park, really proud of that, as well as last year the scenic at 8th Avenue overlook. We completed the PAC rep lease agreement for the Forest Theater. We implemented a mass SOQ process, which really streamlined the consultant selection process. And in fact, I did a Bob University presentation this morning to kind of carry the baton forward so that the staff will continue to do this new process. Also revised the construction contract and professional services agreement templates, and I thank Mr. Pierrick for his support and help on that years ago. Environmental programs, what they do, they're certainly working on the coastal engineering study. They serve on the Mr. Swimp and Regen committees. They administer projects that have to do with sensitive habitat, which is North Dunes and Mission Trails Nature Preserve. They have to prepare the annual stormwater quality report to the Water Quality Control Board. That's the most tedious report I've ever seen. And they do waste and recycling projects, for example. Some key accomplishments in environmental over the past 7 years was the climate action and climate adaptation plans were prepared and adopted. And thanks to the Climate Committee to guide that effort. Coastal Engineering Study Phase 1 was completed, and we're currently right in the middle of Phase 2. We got a $500,000 grant from the Coastal Commission. We replaced most of the trash-only little squirrel cans with dual trash and recycling ribbon cans. We established Earth Day. We were the first agency in the region to establish a no plastics ordinance way back when. Moving on to facility maintenance. They maintain 20 buildings with 137,000 square feet, and we have 2 people. Coordinate repairs with building trade, contractors and vendors, oversee the janitorial services, support building-oriented CIP projects. Some of the accomplishments over the years was we replaced over 1,000 lights with LEDs. We helped develop the ADA transition plan of 2018, which I believe is the first in the city. And since then, we're working in year 7 of ADA upgrade projects based on that plan. We did electrical panel assessments, and in fact, recently we replaced the panel that will be used on Friday night when we turn on the switch for the holiday tree, and no one will get electrocuted, which is really nice. Park restroom improvements, there's been a number of those, from painting to doors to skylights. Forestry, parks, and beach. We have 12,000 trees that we maintain. We're doing our best. The Carmel Forest Master Plan is an ongoing process. We collaborate with volunteer groups. That's Carmel Cares, the Garden Club, Friends of Mission Trail Nature Preserve, Friends of Carmel Forest. That's a big effort. Emergency response is a huge effort every winter. This group does the Forest and Beach Commission reports and presentations, and we manage 3 tree contractors and 1 landscape maintenance contractors. Some accomplishments in forestry is that in the Carmel Forest Master Plan, we did the 12,000 tree inventory where they identified the condition of every one of those trees. So now we know, I don't know the exact number, but we have about 1,000 trees that are dead in poor condition or very poor condition that are scheduled to be removed over the next 3 years. And all of that's been loaded into our Tree Keeper, our GIS mapping system, so we know exactly where each tree is being maintained and removed or whatever. Our crew capabilities really increased. When I first got here, yes, we could remove little trees, and a mid-sized tree was a big deal. Now that's routine. We can do mid-sized trees, we can remove large trees, we can even remove stumps because we got a stump grinder. So our crew capabilities really, really increased. Mission Trail Nature Preserve, working with our friends at the Friends of Mission Trail, significant invasives removals. If you recall, 7 years ago to today, very noticeable difference. For our contracts, we revamped our on-call task order processing. In years past, 7 years ago, we would do 1 tree at a time, 1 little thing at a time. Now we do 40 trees at a time, or 50 trees at a time. Also, we modified some of the tree fees over the last few years to make it more user-friendly. So we have a fee just to evaluate, and if it's dead, we waive any additional fees. Project managers, we have 2 project manager positions, 1's vacant, and we've been supported over the last few years since COVID with 3 different project management consultants that hopefully we can phase out over time as we we're able to hire in-house. This group does the CIP project, which is engineering, design, bidding, construction management services, and predominantly transportation, drainage, and facility renovation projects, such as the one we just talked about, the drainage projects. Some key accomplishments, we did building condition assessments. This is similar to the drainage master plan where we identify where are the problems with our drainage system. We did a number of building condition assessments. So we now know for City Hall, for the fire station, for Public Works, for Vista Lobos, we know what the weak links are. We have prioritized lists of what needs to be repaired over the course of many, many future years. If you recall, years ago, we removed the diesel and gas fuel tanks and the pumps from the back of the Public Works yard. There was an environmental liability. We removed the tank and the pump house, the power pole, and we decommissioned the well at Mission Trail. As you know, we're doing the project on San Antonio Pathway reconstruction. That's a big project. Vista Lobos EV chargers and electrical panel. It's been designed. It's just about ready to go out to bid. It would be constructed early part of next year. Moving on to street maintenance. We do annual sidewalk and storm drainage condition surveys. And as we do that, we identify what sidewalks have to be repaired in priority order. We do the best we can. Storm drain conditions, we cleared all the storm drains. Street maintenance, we fix potholes and pavement. And regarding the berms, I'll have to go back in time, but 90% of the time, as Chip mentioned, 90% of the time it's a request of the citizens. Hey, could you put a berm in front of my property? It's not willy-nilly, we just want to put some berms in. Yes, and sometimes it's to protect the edge of our pavement. That's also true. Better channeling the flow into storm drain inlets. We do street sweeping. That's the unsung hero. Every day, we have an equipment operator with our new street sweeper sweeping the streets. TAMC funding is pretty complicated. We certainly thank our friends in finance to help us out, but there's a number of different funding sources that all have its own little quirks and reporting requirements. We do traffic signage, striping, and pavement markers. We have our annual program there. And some key accomplishments. We've been cross-training our maintenance workers. This is something that was kind of unheard of when I came on board. I kind of silos. Well, we had the forestry group and the street group, and those two shall never get along. Now it's seamless. We have our maintenance workers, if there's a storm, our street folks, our forestry crews are all out there. And if we need to do a big asphalt job, they're all helping streets. So it's a really great cross-training program that's been developed. We've implemented our first official bike route. I know Councilman Barron waited 3 years for it, but we got the bike route accomplished on San Carlos between 8th and 13th. We have an ongoing dedicated crew of one to do sidewalk repairs. We've supported numerous special events over the years, and we'll continue to do so. Moving on, we've had a number of accomplishments from our volunteer groups that we've guided, helped. Carmel Cares, give credit for spearheading this scenic pathway improvement project, the railing and the widening. The Ocean Avenue Meeting Island landscaping project that was done recently. I personally love these community engagement programs. We get everybody who wants to be involved on the downtown detail, clean up downtown, and median minders to adopt their own little median and help maintain it. The Friends of Mission Trail Nature Preserve help with trail maintenance and with the Wheaties program. The Garden Clubs has been maintaining a number of gardens for us. The Friends of Carmel Forest do tree planting and tree care. Now we're talking about some of the building accomplishments. This will come in handy, or this is important to consider when we talk about our infrastructure report card on facilities. So we've done a number of building maintenance projects, but we're losing ground overall. I'll talk about that in a moment. City Hall, we did a number of ADA upgrades from the door to the restrooms. We replaced the retaining wall so that Brandon's office did not fall into the parking lot before, before it was fixed, because that was possible. It wasn't a fun project, but we replaced the roof. Still finishing that one up. Fire station, we refurbished the backup generator. We did that in-house with trained crew. We painted the interior of the upstairs. We refurbished the vehicle exhaust system as examples. At the libraries, at the main library, we recently painted the exterior. We constructed the gathering room. It was opened a few days after COVID shelter in place, so we couldn't use it for a year, but it was still a great project. We supported Ashley in the library master plan and condition assessments of those two buildings. At the Park Branch Library, we completely rebuilt the backup generator and the sump pump system, so the basement hopefully won't ever flood again. More recently, we did electrical outlets and heating connections so that the Park Branch can serve as a storm shelter with outlets and heating and all that. We modified the storeroom. Police and Public Works building. Well, this is a work in progress, but we do have a concept plan to maximize the existing site, and this will be coming soon. And that was council's direction to what can we build on the current site, and we have an answer. The electrical panels were replaced in the garage. The police dispatch room was renovated. Lots of other little projects. At Sunset Center, the 70-year-old boiler was replaced in the nick of time. The cottage windows were recently reconstructed, and it meets the historic fabric nature, the aged character look that our historians wanted, which is good news. We had an emergency repair of our fire pump that was done. The north wing exterior was recently repainted. And these repainting projects, there's lead paint, there's asbestos. We have to remediate the hazardous materials before we can paint. And the retaining wall project is designed, it's pretty much shovel ready. We're trying to do some value engineering to cut the cost so we can afford it, but that will be another project in the spring. Moving on to some major utility projects, the Public Works kind of helped. We had conditions of approval when council approved these encroachment permits. Cal-Am recently completed their Dolores water line. COD is about to start their Guadalupe and Santa Fe pipe bursting project that you heard about, I believe was last month. Council adopted the underground district, Del Mar, are utilizing PG&E Rule 28 credits. Years ago, PG&E rebuilt the gas line along 4th and Camino del Monte. So some major utility projects were completed over the last 7 years. Okay, so that goes over what the department does and some of our accomplishments. Now we're shift gears into the most important thing of this presentation is the infrastructure report card. So what is this thing? This is modeled after the American Society of Civil Engineers National Report Card. And many of you have probably seen on the world news, like the nation's airports are at a D-, and the nation's ports are at a B+, and the nation's highways are at a C, whatever. So I took that concept, I scaled it way down to the city of Carmel with my best estimate of the condition of our pavement, but I'll demonstrate how I've come to the different grades. So we're about to look into 6 categories: streets and pavement, that includes sidewalks, includes traffic, the drainage system, facilities, the fleet, forestry and parks, and we broke that up separate from beach and the shoreline. So we're going to compare new grades for this year compared to 7 years ago, 2017. And I'm just giving them school grades like A through F. Fortunately, we have no A's. Or fortunately, we have no F's, but unfortunately, we have no A's. This is an important graph. I've presented this to council a number of times in years past. It's important to understand this, so please give me a moment to spell this one out. On the x-axis in the bottom is time. So, number of years goes on the right. On the y-axis, vertical, is the scale or the condition. Okay, so this is based on a pavement condition index scale, but the same thing is true for a roof. It's true for your car. It's true for a lot of public infrastructure. It has the same type of infrastructure life cycle. So if you go along the big, thick black line, for many, many years, it starts off brand new. It's in good condition. It's in satisfactory condition. It's even in fair condition for a long time. But you see it starts to curve down. And when it starts to curve down, and you see the blue arrow, when it will start to rapidly deteriorate in condition in a short period of time. So you see how that curve just slopes straight down. Basically, the rule of thumb is $1 to rehabilitate infrastructure at that point, at that critical point with the big blue arrow, might cost $4 to $5 to fix it and reconstruct it just a few years later. That's the premise for our pavement management system. That's essentially the premise of our drainage master plan and that type of thing. Okay, so now on to the report card. Pavement and streets. Well, what are we doing well? We have the best pavement condition in Monterey County. We have the best pavement condition in Monterey County. We've completed 3 annual paving projects, a lot of pavement overlays and slurry. We did Ocean Avenue. I remember my first year I was here, Chip goes, Bob, you have to repave Ocean Avenue. I said, dude, give me a break. I'm still on probation. How about we do that a couple of years later? It's just like the worst case scenario. That project went really well. The concrete streets is shovel ready. We need $2.7 million, but we're ready to fix some of our key concrete streets. Our conglomerate paving project, it's coming soon. It's $2.8 million. We're under budget. We'll be going out to bid. We're at 90% complete. We're really close to going out to bid. And I believe, not for sure, but I believe that will be the biggest paving project in the city of Carmel's history. We've also completed microsurfacing, the first application in the city of Carmel. That was also done where our bike lane is, as well as Junipero. Okay, we still have challenges in our pavement and streets. We have very limited bike lanes. We have 1/4 mile. Our concrete streets, we have a design, but it's a lot of cost. County potholes, as Councilwoman Ferlito notices, we get all the calls because of potholes in the county. That's true. We call the county, they're on speed dial. We do the best we can, and sometimes, like we did the other day, when no one was looking, we patched it up. Our sidewalks, we have a lot of repairs to do. We do have a dedicated crew, but we're trying to fix a big problem. If you look at our pavement condition on the table on the bottom left, you see that in, I believe, every category, our pavement condition improved. So we went from an overall pavement condition index of 62 up to 70 this year. That's a 13% increase. That's really good news. So overall, in 2017, I gave our pavement and our streets an overall C+. And this year, I'm saying we're doing better. We're at a B+. Once we address the bike lanes and concrete streets, we'll get up to an A. Drainage. In 2017, this is my quote, but I took out my, regardless. In 2017, me and my team had no idea what the condition of any of our drainage system was. Today, based on our storm drain master plan and the update, we know exactly where investment is needed and in what priority order. You just saw that on the last agenda item. We've completed 3 drainage projects. We just awarded. You just awarded a few minutes ago those 3 drainage projects. Years ago, we did the 5th Avenue Storm Drain Improvement Project, which is very deep. That's the pipe on the right. It was a big, hairy project. It was really important to capture the drainage problems on the northeast corner of town. The 3 drainage projects at Mission Trail Nature Preserve that you toured last month, and our storm drain master plans have been prepared. Our challenge is our Junipero bypass. That's the #1 priority in that master plan. It's about a $3 million project, and Councilman Barron was right. It's been pushed off a year, but you'll see it back, whether I'm here or not, you'll see it back as a top request for the next drainage project in the next CIP. Also, we have an ongoing problem of surface water in and out of private properties, not just on Acacia Way. We have it a number of places over town. But overall, we're doing a lot better. In 2017, we didn't know our condition. I gave it a D-. Today, I feel comfortable giving an upgrade to a C+. Facilities, I just went through all the improvements in the library and Sunset Center and City Hall and the fire station, but we're losing ground. We've done a lot of little projects, and we've done condition assessments, but gosh, we're not investing the dollars we really need to. So I'm giving it overall from a C- down to a D, losing ground. And here's the challenges. We have 8 buildings that are about 100 years old, with 2 people maintaining them, and not enough investment into fixing them up. We have Flanders Mansion and the Scout House that have been unused for decades, and I'm preaching to the choir, but they're deteriorating. There's ongoing repairs and maintenance. They're not going away. We need millions of dollars to make the repairs and upgrades and code-compliant upgrades in some cases for City Hall, Fire Station, Vista Lobos. The police and public works building, I'm just going to say this because I have no fear of I worked on this before I was hired. I was a tentative hire, and I was working on the police station 7.5 years ago, and we built nothing. It's past its useful life. It's unfit for staff. We had 7 years of planning. Come on, please, I beg you, I deplore you, let's get this one done. Sunset Center needs a whole bunch of repairs. You're going to be seeing in the mid-year budget that we need to modernize the lobby elevator or potentially shut down the building. Okay, that's how critical this is. Wow. Got to fix that. And we have a plan to do so, but we need money. And then going back to that deferred maintenance graph where we saw how rapid decline, we're on the decline overall, big picture of our facilities from going the $1 renovations down to the $5 rebuilds. So I'm trying to caution you, red flag, this is my best professional opinion, put more emphasis on the facilities, please. Fleet, good news, we went from a C to a B. We installed 6 EV charging stations over the past 7 years, and we have 12 more in the hopper. We bought our dump truck, electric street sweeper, and we got a $250,000 rebate from 3CE. The fleet maintenance returned in-house. That was during COVID, okay? So we didn't do fleet maintenance in-house since 1990. Not big, massive fleet maintenance, just the easy stuff. We're doing the easy stuff in-house. We're saving money, making it more efficient. Like when Chip's vehicle dies on his driveway at home, we come out and we can fix it. And we ordered an ambulance and a fire engine. These are big ticket items, and they both will be delivered in December with the chief next year, this time. The biggest challenge I see in fleet, we're doing really well, we're doing a tremendous amount of progress. The state is mandating an EV conversion faster than Carmel, or for that matter, my understanding, most agencies in California won't be able to keep up. So maybe the state laws will change and give us some relief, but starting next year, each agency has to report to the state what percentage of our vehicles are EV, and there's penalties if we fail to meet their objectives. Forestry and parks, well, the good news is that we have the master plan in progress. Our crew skills have improved a lot. Our emergency response protocol has improved. Challenges is that we have a 3-year backlog of dead, very poor and poor trees, about 1,000 trees. We have over 600 stumps to remove still. We have an aging forest. Impacts from the winter storms, especially those last 2 years, have really done some harm on our trees. We have 2 tree ordinances. They're both inconsistent, they're both out of date, and they're both strange. We have a draft to replace them. Council's directive was to let's get the master plan done first, and then come back and update those tree ordinances. I believe the Forest and Beach Commission will be recommended that the council, let's scrap that idea. Let's get these ordinances done as soon as possible, even if the master plan comes a little later. We've also had a problem with staff vacancies. We have several staff vacancies in forestry. It's always come back to haunt us. So we're slipping a little bit from a B to a C+, but I think we have a lot of tools in place to get the job done. And then beach and shore, I say that we've increased. I know a lot of people might dispute this. In my opinion, it went from a D+ to a C. And because of the beach cleanups, the beach is so much cleaner now overall than it used to be. And that's thanks to a number of volunteer groups, Carmel Cares, city staff, our landscape maintenance contractor. We did a coastal engineering study. We know the condition of all our shoreline infrastructure. Thank heavens those fire pits were removed. If you recall, some of you, I was here years ago saying, our group is tired of taking out burned books and whippet containers out of those fire pits. Thank heavens they're removed. North Dunes habitat restoration, if you recall 7 years ago and you go out there today, it looks very much different. And the scenic pathway has been transformed. So a lot of the improvements on the beach and the shoreline. We still have the challenge of climate change, increasing storms and sea level rise. The equipment access ramp was washed out a couple of years ago. The permitting requirements to make those repairs on the beach, like the 2 beach stairs that are damaged. We're looking at fixing one quickly, but the second one is going to take a while and it needs some permitting, as well as seawalls and revetments and things. It's going to take some permitting effort. And the wooden stairs. We have a lot of wooden stairs that are reaching the end of their useful life. We have car jacks under treads and things being held by duct tape. Overall, this is the last slide, infrastructure summary. So here's all the grades. For 2017, the overall grade was a C-. This year is a C+. We're heading in the right direction. I believe we're doing better on streets, drainage, and fleet. Our investments are paying off. Where I would advise where funding is needed is buildings and facilities. That's of the 3 things where investment is encouraged. Buildings and facilities is big dollars. We don't have a good game plan yet, in my opinion. Our drainage system, we're on track. We're making progress each year. That's going well. Keep going. Shoreline infrastructure, we have some momentum now. Keep going. The building and drainage is the weak link, in my opinion. Also, if you quickly refer to pages 66 and 67 of our adopted budget, it's the CIP. It talks about the 5-year CIP. It spells out what some of the key repairs and things are, as well as our 5-year CIP master plan. So I would suggest that council and staff refer to those in future years. And with that, be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions about by council members before I open it up to the public? Questions only. I don't see anybody. Is there anybody in the public wishing to speak to this item tonight?
Amazing work.
Mayor Potter, members of the council, city staff, my name is Cindy Lloyd. I just want to say, as an individual, not a member of any group, the fantastic cooperation of Public Works with any little project I undertake, and I send a little note or I call up and say, by the way, I've done some pruning on what we call the Golden Triangle, which is a triangle formed by Pico, Santa Fe, and Camino del Monte, which was a project of the Carmel Woods Neighborhood Association, which I did in 2009. And so I bought my pruning shears, and I did a big project, and Kelly Burke was working with me, and she said, oh my God, what are we going to do with all that stuff? And I said, don't worry, I'll just get in touch with Rob Culver, and I'm sure he'll come take care of it. And that's the cooperation that I just love about this city. this town, this village, whatever we want to call it. I also have a project that I have worked with, and that is the Arch. And for the 3 years that I was kind of jury-rigging the irrigation of the Arch and changing out the flowers and everything else, Michael Page spent 8 hours one day making access through the base of the Arch so that electricity and water could go in there. And for the first time in 3 years, I don't have to run down and water the Arch and carry buckets of water up and down Ocean Avenue, even though I kind of like that interaction with, you know, the police cars when they go by and wave, and the fire trucks when they go by, and the public who stops and asks me what's going on there. There was something else I wanted to mention, which of course I will remember when I sit down, but that's okay because it means less time for you all to listen to me. But thank you very much, and I want to say it again publicly. Public Works is my favorite department, and that's apologies to administration, apologies to safety, apologies to Public Works. No, not Public Works, but the Planning Department, which is a wonderful department as well. But collaboratively, this is a city, we all work together, but Public Works is my favorite because we all get together and work outside. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Cindy. Next speaker.
Well, Bob, I know why you're so tired now. Wow, I didn't know you did all that. Anyway, I've really enjoyed working with you, Bob. I'm going to miss you. You know, I've got you just where I want you now, and you're leaving. I'm really mad about that. Anyway, you've always answered phone calls. You try to do the right thing. When I don't understand something, you explain it to me. The people that work underneath you have been very communicative, and are you sure you don't want to stay? Oh, okay. And I'd like to know about a job description and what the status is for the person that's going to replace you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
You must be doing something right, Bob. You got away with that with Andy. I'd just like to thank Bob. When I gave a presentation to him in July of 2020, he had the vision to empower Carmel Cares to get to work, and he's had to endure 121 hours of our status meetings ever since. And I just want to thank you. I told him this in person the other day, but I'd like to thank you for all that you've done to make this partnership a success. And we're going to miss you. And what do you do in your spare time, Bob? Seriously. All right, thanks.
Thanks, Dale. Next speaker.
Mayor, Council, my name is Janine Chickride. I am here tonight representing the Carmel Resident Association. Bob, it was supposed to be J.C. Myers, but you're stuck with me. He really wanted to express how much he appreciated working with you on Forest and Beach and all that you did there. He loved your can-do attitude. He loved your sense of humor. What most people don't know is Bob and I worked with the city of Monterey in a public-private partnership redoing the Monterey Conference Center. It was a $60 million project. And I just wish they've had a film of us doing the value engineering meeting, because that was quite special. But anyway, it's a big loss to the city. I'm sorry to see him leave, and I'm just amazed to see his accomplishments in the short time that you've been here. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chiggarat. Appreciate it. Anybody else wishing to speak tonight? Anybody on Zoom? Brandon.
Mr. Mayor, I know this is maybe a little bit out of order, but just speaking on behalf of all the staff and myself as the former planning director and current assistant city administrator, I worked with Bob now the last almost 5 years. Typically, planners and engineers don't get along because planners are creative and engineers only know 2 words, yes and no. So that's why we don't get along. But I will say it has been a pleasure over the last 5 years. Bob and I have worked really hard together to create collaboration between the public works and planning departments, which doesn't happen in many cities. And that has gone a long way to create that communication between the 2 departments and provide better service to our residents. So that's big kudos to Bob. So thanks for that, buddy.
Thank you, Brandon. Well said. Anybody else? Anybody on Zoom, Nova? All right. Well, I'd just say, Brandon's comments are very appropriate, actually, Bob. To go through the pandemic with no capital improvement projects at all and still come up with grades like you've got here. It's amazing. But that was the toughest thing I've ever seen, was when we said we're not going to do any capital improvement project the entire year. Amazing. Well done, sir. Appreciate it. Anybody else?
Well, I just think that a report like this is so impressive for people to understand all that's going on just in one department in our city. It's pretty phenomenal, and I think it's something that it certainly makes me appreciate as a council person, but as a resident, what it takes to keep this village going. And sometimes we get a little grouchy about how much money this is going to cost or what's going to happen, and it's a lot of work, every single project. So thank you, Bob, for all your service all these years, and please convey my thanks to your staff, because they're doing a lot of work too in an aging city, let's say, with aging infrastructure. So I think reports like this really help inform the citizens about what's going on and why it's going on. So thank you so much.
Any other comments?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just keep this really brief. Thank you, Bob, for your presentation and also for your service, and good luck in your retirement. The one issue that I've been concerned with and still am concerned is the deferred maintenance of all our buildings, and a lot of them are historic buildings. So I really do hope that the next city council can work on putting together a plan and a way that we can fund that, and a long-range vision on how we can tackle that, because I think the most striking statistic that Bob gave us is that we're reaching the point where instead of $1 that you're putting in, it becomes $5, and we're really going to get ourselves in a serious mess. So thank you for your report, and certainly hope that we can work on that with the new council.
Jeff.
Thank you, Bob, for all of your years of work, especially, as Dave said, for your year of work without any capital improvement project CIP budget at all. Looking back on that, I'm not 100% sure that was the right decision, but we live and die by our decisions, which is okay. And as Dave's wife said, as Janine said, that's a pretty impressive list of projects. It's impressive to sit here and have you go through slide after slide after slide after slide at 8 o'clock at night, and still be fascinated by the list and impressed by the list. So thank you for everything. Thank you for everything.
Yeah, well, Bob, of course, thank you, and it's been fun working with you. It's been fun joking around a lot with you. Sorry I didn't get any chili this year during the storms, but I was just a little tied up. But anyways, Bob, good luck with everything, and it's been really fun working with you. So thanks a lot, Bob. And your list is pretty impressive. I look back at that stuff and go, oh wow, I forgot about that one. Oh, I forgot about that one. It's amazing. So thank you, Bob.
Bob, I think one of the things that you did that was very helpful is impress upon the council the importance of deferred maintenance. You can't let your buildings just go. You've got to stay on top of them. And when you got a deteriorating infrastructure like we have, aging infrastructure like we have, it gets more and more critical every year. So thank you. You've done a good job. I really appreciate it. Okay. This is a receive a report only, so we can deem this report received without exception. Why don't we move on then to update from the City Council. Resolution 2024-062 to develop alternative sites and programs that would allow for the amendment to the city's adopted sixth cycle housing redevelopment plan, the AHA Group. Okay, who's doing this?
Steve, could I get the presentation on the screen, please? Thank you. All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. This is mercifully your last item, so I'll try to make it brief. Everything is going great. That's my presentation.
Thank you.
If you have any questions. No, I will get through this pretty quickly. So I'm not going to belabor the background. You know how we got here. We adopted a housing element. We were proud of it. The fact that we got across the finish line and prevented builder's remedy. But we had great feedback from our community, and we realized that it can be even better. So in July, the council provided direction to explore new alternatives to try to remove 149 affordable units, and that's an important bold and underline there, 149 affordable. So the goal is, the task at hand is to find 149 affordable alternate sites or alternate units so we can replace those city sites. So we've been working hand in hand, the city's been working hand in hand with the Affordable Housing Alternatives, or AHA group, as we'll continue to call them, who is here this evening. Much like the last update, they're going to be available when we get to the public comment portion to answer questions with staff arm in arm, because they've been a big part of this as well. So the members of the group are here tonight. So I'm going to go through, we've had a lot of productive meetings. I mean, that is really, I can't overstate that the meetings have been super productive and positive. Regular weekly meetings with AHA and staff since July. We brought on a housing consultant named Veronica Tam, who's a superstar in the housing world. Both Marnie and I are big fans of hers, even from our previous jurisdictions that we worked in. So we're very lucky to get her on board. She's been attending those regular meetings. And she's going to be helping us craft that narrative and data that's going to be meaningful to the state, which is going to increase the viability of the sites that we're going to put forward. And that's another word you're going to see highlighted through this presentation, is viability. All the work that we're doing to supercharge these programs that already exist is to show the state and prove to the state that our alternative sites, alternative affordable sites, are viable, meaning that they really can come true. And in some cases, maybe even more viable and more possible than the city sites, because they'll have less resistance. The other thing we've been working on recently is broadening our outreach. So we started more refined, more small city staff in AHA. And once we had a plan that we could start to involve people in, we've broadened that outreach and started to bring in folks like hotel operators, affordable housing developers, churches, owners of ADUs, people to administrate a housing program. And again, having those real players on board when we go back and talk to the state increases the viability of our amendment. So we're still working on the same 4 main areas. That has not changed. Those have been consistent all throughout, which is a good sign, meaning that we haven't found any major holes in these 4 approaches. As you know, they're all up there on the screen: ADUs, hotel conversion, church sites, and downtown properties. We've continued to see strong interest in all 4 programs. And as I mentioned, all of our efforts are focused on proving viability of each area. It's been a collaborative effort, and we're working towards that 149. So I'm going to buzz through the 4 areas and give you an update on what's transpired since last time we spoke. As you know, the adopted housing element already projected 34 ADUs. That's not news. We are going to be launching, we're really excited about this. We have a survey that's going to be going out in mid-December to people that have ADUs in town that's going to give us a real snapshot of how ADUs are currently being used, whether they're being rented, lived in, sitting vacant. We don't know. Maybe someone just lets their dog live there. We're going to find out. We're also going to ask and learn what could be done to increase their use as housing, because the reason we're doing this is to create housing. This isn't lip service. This is a real effort, and we recognize that an ADU alone, just a second structure on a property, doesn't solve a housing crisis. It's when someone's living in there. So we're going to be getting feedback on how we can actually make that more possible. Right now, we're anticipating increasing that ADU projection by 15 to 30 units, but we're going to learn more from the survey, and that will inform that number even better. We've seen some encouraging statistics as we've dove in deeper. Roughly half of existing ADUs are under 500 square feet, which is good news. We're looking at trying to make smaller footprint ADUs, not only because it impacts our forest and our soils less, but it also is more affordable by design. Again, and then 50% of the ADUs that we have right now or that have been approved are actually conversion of existing structures, which again is good news. It's not new development. There is also an ADU ordinance in process, as many of you know. It's important to note here that the ADU ordinance is not prohibitive of ADUs. It is more about harmonizing ADUs with our local coastal program and our special resources we have here in the city. So we're going to be streamlining smaller ADUs and, again, encouraging the ones that we want to see and harmonizing those larger ones if they come forward for compliance with our LCP. The next program is hotels. Again, this was an existing programs we had already, 2 of them in the housing element. We're going to be supercharging them, is what we've liked been saying. Those 2 programs were affordable units for employees of the hotels, and then a development credit transfer, which is a fancy way of saying converting a property to affordable housing and then moving the right to develop a hotel somewhere else where the site is appropriate. We've had meetings with multiple developers and hotel operators, again, the people who really would be the ones implementing this, and have received strong interest. This, again, proves the viability of this option. We have it far enough down the road in a draft of this one program of the amendments and the language to refine it, that we'll be meeting with HCD in December to get their initial blush on it. And again, the language we believe makes it more viable. Our housing element as adopted projects 31 units for that first program, the Affordable Employee Unit Program. However, because we didn't have any interest from hotel operators through the second program, we actually didn't get any credit from the state for that. So we believe now, with the interest that we're seeing and the refinement of the program, the developers coming to the table, we could get credit for up to 50 or more new affordable units. And these would truly be affordable units, because that's how the program works, is it's building affordable housing. The next area is churches. Again, this already exists in our housing element, looking at church sites, but we only had one church site that came forward, again, because of a lack of interest. And maybe a bit of a fear and not understanding of what could be done on church sites. So thanks to the AHA group, they get a lot of credit for this. There was a community meeting that was convened on November 19th of all of the faith properties around our village. And I believe we had representatives from every church that we have within the city, which was great. We had architects show up, we had developers show up, and we had land use experts. So it was a wonderful meeting. It was held at Sunset Center. There was a lot of useful resources that we realized should be created for these groups to help guide them through and demystify and make it less scary. So based on the feedback we received from those church groups, when they've been given resources, they're interested in pursuing this, we think this becomes a much more viable program. And then the last of the four is the adopted housing, is downtown. Our housing element already talks about conversion of these second-story downtown properties that are not used. But again, we didn't get any credit when our housing element was adopted, because the state said, doesn't seem viable, you don't have enough data for us, really. We did get some units, but they're all above moderate, meaning that they're market rate. So they don't help us with those 149 affordable units. Remember, keep that goal in mind, because 149 cannot be market rate. It has to be affordable. So we've been compiling detailed property characteristics to show that viability. This is, again, one of the reasons we brought on Veronica Tam, because she knows what data we need to tell HCD. HCD has buckets of recognized data that they see that, okay, this might actually become an affordable unit, even if you don't have a letter from a property owner. So that's where we're going right now. We've already done a couple of smaller, we call them safaris, walking surveys to go down and look at actual properties. But as we're refining what this data is that we need, and some matrices to look at a property and assess its condition, we're going to do a full-scale attack on the downtown and just go visually survey so we understand the data and can use that in the conversation with HCD. And then again, one of the superpowers of having a resident volunteer group is there's a lot of relationships there that spring out into the community. So we're hoping to get the interest from those business owners and the property owners, which again proves viability. So the important thing to talk about here, next steps. The big thing we need to do is we need to complete drafts and start the adoption process. And we have a milestone amendment timeline already. You can see our plan. The most immediate thing is to be back here in February for the public and the Planning Commission and the City Council to see a first real draft of the four programs, red line language of what our amendment might look like. And then you can see the rest of the schedule laid out here. March and April is when we're having conversations and receiving comments from HCD. May is when we refine our draft. June, July, we start adoption hearings. Chip Rarick has a question.
25.
Thank you. I did not invent a time machine. I would not be working here anymore if I did. I would be making a lot more money. Thank you very much for pointing that out. These are all next year. Anyway, replace 24 with 25 and the schedule still holds. But June and July, we'll be starting to process the adoptions. August is when we'll talk to HCD to get their formal certification. And then, all fingers crossed, September 2025, we'll be back for formal adoption by the City Council. And the sort of like overarching date that we've all been having in mind is that our current housing element says that we will launch an RFP for those city-owned sites by December of 2025. So you can see why this schedule works and accomplishes the goal, because theoretically, our housing element is amended before we even have to launch that. So with that ends my presentation. I am available for questions, and then we can open it up for the public and for the AHA group to come join as well, whatever the council wishes. It was nice last time to have them all up here, so we're all available for your questions.
Karen.
Yes. How often does HCD come to us and say, what have you done now?
They don't come to us, we go to them. It's in that annual report that we do every year. So every jurisdiction that has an adopted housing element has to do an annual report.
Okay, and do they say you better get going, or you haven't done anything?
No,
no.
not.
They just
I mean,
hear
well,
you?
I shouldn't say no so cavalierly. They will say that. They have not said that to us in history. They have said that to several jurisdictions around the state over the last couple years because they've done zero. I mean, we are actually working on our housing element alongside of doing this amendment. You know, we're releasing RFPs for objective design standards. We're drafting other policy languages in our adopted housing element that we have to get in place. So we are also working concurrently on the portions of the housing element that we're not amending. So there's two lines of work going.
You said you are releasing RFPs for the objective design standards.
Correct.
That's something we will farm out.
Correct. That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
The question is, Brandon. Brandon, these are all water constrained, though, right?
That's correct. Yes. Every development, unless they have water in their pocket from a Malpaso or whatever, is contingent on there being water. But as we all remember, our friends at the state said, "Don't worry about water. Pretend it's going to come. Plan for the eventuality of it."
Yeah, we will have Mr. Stolt. You probably read a great article in the Pinecone last Thursday about Mr. Stolt from the Water District presenting before the city of Pacific Grove. We recommended to wait until the new council got here, but again, our pre-allocation estimate is 14 acre feet, which would provide, the council will be, I'll task you with dividing that water up into different allocation categories: commercial, residential, affordable, municipal reserve, what have you. But we'll have Mr. Stolt here early next year to present the plan that Pacific Grove received a couple weeks ago.
Okay. All right, why don't we go ahead? Question?
I have a question before comments. I've spoken before about the hotel conversion program. And so let's say we have a hotel that has, an older hotel that has 20 units, just to pick a number. And they come up with a plan to convert the 20 units to 20 studios or 15 one-bedrooms, whatever it is. And they go and they purchase a plot of land downtown that is mostly parking lot, but has 6 older housing units on it. And so I'm interested in knowing, and maybe this isn't a question for now, I'm interested in knowing, so we start with 20 units, we're gonna get 15 units out of the whole hotel, but they're going to demolish 5 affordable by design units, and there are lots of those downtown. They're gonna demolish 5 affordable by design units that happen to have a lot of parking, so they have a lot of space on the units. What is the city's, how many rooms are they going to be allowed to build? And what is the city's increase in housing stock? So they went from 20 to 15, and then they took 5 away. And again, I'm just making up these numbers.
Sure.
But I would like to understand whether they're going to get 20 hotel rooms and we're only going to get 10 new affordable units from it, or how that math.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Is going to work.
Our current city laws have rules about not getting rid of housing. Basically, you can't remove a housing unit. The beautiful part about what we're doing right now in amending the housing element and then ultimately implementing it is the implementation is when you write the law, you write the code, you write the zoning code. So when we get to that point, the answer to your question doesn't fully exist yet because the program isn't implemented. So one of the things that the future 5 policymakers up here could say is, we don't want there to be this possibility of give me 20 here, but you can lose 5 over here. We want it to be 20 plus 5. That could be direction from the city council and the planning commission.
Well, how is HCD, if I put myself in HCD shoes, is HCD going to ask you this question, like some version of the question that I'm asking you in terms of how that allocation number is going to how we're going to get credit. Like, how many units do you expect to get from this? Well, we expect 10 or 15 or 20 or 25.
Yeah. My understanding is they talk about a thing called no net loss,
Right.
where you can't have a net loss of units through what you're doing.
So that would be the 5, and the 5 on, so the 5, you know, affordable by design units on the big parking lot. So we can't get rid of those. So those need to be included in the final plans, that they may be transferred to the hotel or.
Well, in your example of.
Maybe I should just leave it with you and not have
Yeah,
this
I think point
conversation
taken.
now.
Point taken. We'll make sure that we don't leave.
So when you come back, like I would
yeah.
like to understand sort of what the plan is for how the net number of housing units in the village is going to go up, given that. Like, so we're moving 20 hotel units, but I would like to see us, you know, what's the incentive we need to get?
But with the approved permit, if the approved permit said no net loss of houses, that would take care of that.
But what about the old piece of property with the, yeah, I don't, like, we don't need to have this discussion. Like, I'm curious, like, we can do whatever we want, but I've always talked about wanting to make this a real housing generation tool, which goes to my other comment, which was, you know, you and I have spoken about, you know, I applaud that, you know, we have this ADU ordinance thing going off sort of on the side. And I think that downsizing the ADUs from 800 to 400 feet, like, again, made up numbers, is good for the village because it keeps us green and it keeps open space. And those are all laudable goals. But I've also had the conversation with you sort of in public about the, you know, the number of ADU units that are lived in. And I'm still very interested in understanding, you know, the 50 ADUs that have been built, how many of them have been lived in? Because I would like to see that the ADUs that we, you know, if we're going to get credit for more ADUs, I would like to see that the ADU, like, some of them are being lived in. And we're not just going from 120 ADU credit to 150 ADU credit to get our number down, but none of them are lived in. Like, that would be a problem for me.
Yeah, we're all very excited about that too. And we've had that critical conversation around the table when we have our weekly meetings that, you know, we are, you know, what I said earlier when I was by myself was that we see this as a real opportunity to create housing. We're not trying to do this just to check a box and fix homework. So we hear you as a group. I think I'm looking around, everyone feels the same. And we've heard that at our community meetings too. We've had people show up and voice very strongly like, hey, don't just use ADUs as a Band-Aid to say you won. You do something so that people live in them. So we hear you and we agree completely.
Great, thank you.
All right, why don't we open up for public comment then, unless there are any other questions. First public comment person. Don't hesitate. Anyway, you're just going to stand up? Good. Show us support. Yeah.
I'll say something.
Yeah.
Having witnessed this group working in person, I just have to admire their incredible ability, persistence. Every week, they're all putting in a lot of hours, and they really deserve a round of applause if we could do that, because it's really amazing what's happening right in front of us here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this is a receiver report, so there's no comment? Well, excellent. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it, really. Well done. So we stand adjourned. We adjourn tonight in the memory of Brent, John, and Esther. So please take a note of that. Thank you.
I almost got you to put it in your bag.
I lost the over-under big time tonight. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I know, Ken. I thought it was 6:30.
It's very beautiful.
Well, the minute I saw the clerk, what's his name? I knew he was in trouble.
No, this guy was separate.
So what's his name?
That was the crazy guy. That was.